This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. You'll believe that.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Go Hayes! Hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and happy Super Bowl Friday, as the Super Bowl is going to be on Sunday. By far the biggest event every single year in the United States of America. It's also a time where you hear some of the most ridiculous things like, I'm not even here to watch the football. I'm here to watch the commercials, or I'm here for the hors d'oeuvres and the food. While the rest of us have money on the game, and it means life or death. It means whether my kids are going to college or not on how this game turns out, and you're telling me you're only here to watch some stupid Coke commercial. It means everything. It's the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game there is. You want to know how big the Super Bowl is? It is by far the most watched television program in the United States of America and the world. Human beings watch this game more than anything else. It is consumed on everything from phones to tablets to the reach of the Super Bowl is so unbelievable. It's hard to explain. The top 25 most watched television shows every single year are all NFL games but one. I think I've said this before. Have I said this to you before?
I believe so, yes.
The only thing that cracks the top 25. No, it's not the Oscars. No, it's not the Grammys. No, it's not American Idol. No, it's not Bachelor, Revenge Returns, whatever the new Bachelors are. None of that.
Someone's clearly watching.
Take your Grammys and take it down the street, because the Grammys are not even in the top. I got top 75. All of it is football. The top 25 every single year is football, and the only one that's not NFL is the national title game. The number one watched show in American television every single year is the Super Bowl. Number 2 and 3 every single year is the NFC and the AFC title game. It's fact. And it depends on which game's first and which one's second. That's it. Top 25 every single year, football, and the only one that's not NFL is the national championship game. 82 of the top 100, I think it is. My buddy Himbo has that for us. 82 of the top 100 television broadcasts in the United States last year was football. So don't tell me it's not important. It's the one thing everybody can come together and everybody can watch. And everybody, except a select few, we got 330-something million Americans. Well, there's going to be well over 150 of them. 150 million people will somehow watch or see something, participate in something in this game called the Super Bowl. It's huge. It's what we strive to be, right? America's pastime. It's what the NBA strives for. It's what the NHL. Golf, tennis, they'll never get there. Soccer wants to say, it's the World Cup. Nothing's like the Super Bowl. Nothing gets ratings like the Super Bowl. Nothing. I've done multiple Super Bowls. I'm telling you, when you go there, it's like the whole universe. You're in this bubble, and like the whole universe is right in that city at that time. Like right now in Arizona, craziness. You've got the Waste Management going on, which is a golf tournament. And some of you, I know you don't care about golf. You don't watch golf. There'll be over 300,000 people that will attend this golf tournament. It's the most attended golf tournament every single year on the PGA Tour. That's crazy. It's 4 days. Over 300,000. I'm not saying they're all different. There's a lot of probably repeat, but their attendance will be over 300,000 for the 3 days, for the 4 days. It's amazing. I don't know if they count Wednesdays, practice rounds, but the attendance is off the charts. It's absolutely off the charts. So you got that and the Super Bowl going at the same time. I mean, things are a-rockin'. Now, TPC Scottsdale, where they're playing the golf tournament, obviously is in where?
Scottsdale.
God, you are good.
I know geography really well.
You are good. Where is the Super Bowl?
Glendale.
Glendale, Arizona, which I can tell you, having been to that stadium twice while working for the Raiders, is nowhere near the fun parts of Arizona. I just know you get on buses and you just go forever, and all of a sudden you're like, you roll up on a freeway, and there it is. This big stadium. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Glendale, Arizona. So when you're watching all the Super Bowl stuff and you're going, they're in Scottsdale, they're in Phoenix, they're in Tempe, they're in all these, and everybody's partying and having a good time, and hey, look at our set and everything. Nobody's out in Glendale, Arizona. This thing's out by itself in the middle of nowhere. But it's going to be fun. Super Bowls are great. Super Bowl cities, if you can host a Super Bowl, it is, we had one not too, it's been almost, 6 years since Peyton Manning and the Broncos won the Super Bowl at Levi Stadium. What year was that?
That was,
it's like 7 years ago.
That was after when the greatest event I've ever attended at Levi Stadium, WrestleMania, was here. We were both there.
We were both at WrestleMania. Yes. Fact.
2016. So 7 years ago.
7 years. WrestleMania was 15?
Yes.
That was 2015?
Yeah. That's how long ago it was. Remember, we got to meet Bob Backlund, Sergeant Slaughter, in the press box.
I had Hulk Hogan in studio in my show, my talk show.
Jimmy, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
You think of like legendary guys that in studio that I've been able to have, and people would think about, you just think about, Hulk Hogan was like a big deal. The entire office came down. Everybody wanted pictures. He's Hulk Hogan. It's one of the biggest sports, even though it's fake. Even though it's fake.
Wait, really?
I know. Just work.
You're telling me it's scripted?
I know. But I've done Ric Flair, I've done Macho Man, and I've done Hulk Hogan. And I'll throw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in there as some of the most special interviews, in-person interviews that were great. My one with Bill.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.
That's a 16-time world champion, Ric Flair.
Best interview I ever did. I'll tell the story sometime. Bill Murray at the AT&T, where I had breakfast with Bill Murray at Pebble Beach. That was the best. Here's an interesting question, because we all know that Hulk Hogan is the most significant wrestler of all time. There's no question. I've done the research now. Steve Austin is not even in the realm. Who is the greatest entertainer, though, wise? I think you'd have to say it would be a toss between Ric Flair or The Rock.
I don't disagree with either of those. They're both pretty entertaining.
I mean, there's been great ones, right? Like Rowdy Piper at Piper's Pit. I mean, there's been some interesting. Jesse Ventura had the Body Shop. There's been some guys that have been very, very entertaining. But when it comes to the speeches and that, no one has been like Flair and The Rock. Now, Flair did a lot longer than The Rock. I would probably go Flair.
Yeah.
Flair was a master at the interviews. He was a master. Now, I think Rock was phenomenal getting the mic and talking to the crowd, but the actual interview process, Ric Flair did actually like real interviews. Now, they weren't real, but it was like he'd sit there and talk for minutes. Rock's stuff was always short vignettes.
He was very good.
But Rock was phenomenal.
The Rock was great at promos. It doesn't matter what your name is, all that stuff.
Billy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your name.
Ric Flair. If anyone's looking for a hilarious follow on Instagram, no context Flair memes. Please follow it. It might be the best Instagram follow you'll do for weeks.
Old school Dusty Rhodes was really good.
There's a no context Dusty one too also.
And he's no longer with us. Right?
Yeah, Dusty passed away a couple years ago. His son's now main eventing WrestleMania this year.
Okay. I busted out my pad. I hadn't busted it out in a while, and I forgot I have this note from one of our old shows. Eno Sarris is going to join us coming up here at 1:30, just to show you how ridiculous Eno Sarris can be at times. Remember when Eno wanted to have the best regular season awards?
Oh my, that was wow. That was really far back.
Yeah, this is before the play, because as he said, the nerds can't handle how the postseason is different. They have less control. So they need to have, beyond MVP and stuff like that, we need to recognize, oh, wow. I thought that was funny. But two things that I want to get into that I think are very important. Number one today, the Great Divide. This article came down last Wednesday, but I could only see it online. And the way they have it was hard to read online because, with all the advertisements and everything. I now have it in my hand. If you're just streaming, listening, you can hear the paper. I have it in my hand. The article, The Great Divide, with the numbers that are crazy. I have to get into that today. I got some questions that, listening lately, doing my walk at night, I've been listening to Buster Olney's podcast. I've heard some really good people on, and I got some questions for Cody about some things in baseball. But the number one thing, it happened to me yesterday. We're baseball nerds. We recognize that, right? We live this thing year round. Year round. We don't stop. But most of the world stops. It's like the WBC coming up. I'm not into the WBC. I'm just not. And the reason why I'm not is because I'm kind of traditionalist. I like my sports in seasons, right? Right now is football season. It's Super Bowl. When we hit March, what do I like in March?
College basketball?
I don't watch college basketball at all unless it's for my guy, Alex Jensen in St. Mary's.
Tough loss last night for St. Mary's.
Who they're rocking and rolling. They're gonna have a good shot at it. But once March hits, I love college basketball because college basketball is awesome. To watch these kids, the majority of them, 99% of these kids will not play in the NBA. This is their time to shine. CBS, national television. They play their hearts out. It's one game elimination. Who doesn't love the tournament? I love the conference tournaments. I love college. I want college basketball in March. And then baseball season. So it's kind of tough for me, like WBC. I mean, it's do we not get enough baseball? I watch baseball every day. It's basically 6+ months. I'm at a baseball game. I do almost 81 games at the Coliseum. How many games did I do last year? 150-something games? Like, I need more baseball? Do I really need more?
That's every 4 years, right? Is that every 4 years we're doing this?
I don't know, but I'm like, I'll watch it, but do I really need more? So I'll get into WB. I got questions, but the number one thing that I learned yesterday, I played golf with two different guys. One guy's a big guy. He's from Boston, out here, tech guy. Two tech guys, shocking. One guy was from Boston. The other guy grew up in Michigan. So basically, I played golf yesterday with Red Sox Tiger fan. And we just started talking. And I realized something, getting back to where we live this thing every day. Do you realize most people don't know about the rule changes?
I'm not surprised.
No, I think you are surprised. Because if I didn't bring that up, I don't think you've thought about that. Because
outside of our realm, I don't think a lot of people pay attention.
I was shocked they didn't know. But then that shows you how naive I am. I'm like, you guys don't know this? Remember when Colin Cowherd, they've already announced the rule changes. This is a guy, did you have it?
I think I got rid of it.
Colin Cowherd, who, whatever, has a show that used to be a radio show that they've now turned into a TV show. I don't even know who even carries it terrestrial radio-wise.
It's Fox, because it's on Fox TV also.
No one airs Fox locally. And there may be some podunk markets, but who's airing Fox? Who's airing a syndicated Fox show, terrestrial radio in the country?
Oh, during the day?
Can't be many.
No, not many, no.
Okay, so basically these shows now, Rome, Rome still gets carried, but probably not like it used to.
Rack that guy.
But Cowherd, clearly it's a TV show now. People need CBS Sports, Fox Sports. They on these random down the dial on cable. They need programming, so they put this programming on. It doesn't really get ratings, whatever.
I do have Cowherd.
So
if you want it,
we've already known for a long time now. It's already been decided shifting is out of the game. It's going to be out of the game. It's already been announced. It's been how long? It would have been like a couple months, right?
Yes.
To show you how clueless a supposed national sports guy is. A guy that's been on ESPN, a guy who's now on Fox. Supposedly his show is on. I would be interested to see the affiliate list of his radio shows where he is syndicated, because you're not going to get it in any major market, but whatever. He's had a great career. He's made a lot of money. Good for him. But the main thing is now it's morphed into a TV show. We're doing the same thing. We're audio, video. But basically it's a filler on their cable station, and they need programming. So they put Colin on, and he comes on. This has been a month or so that they have said shifts are banned next season. New rules coming. Colin Cowherd live on his television show after you could go anywhere, MLB.com, ESPN.com, CBS Sports.com, even his own web store, FoxSports.com. Everybody has had this. This is not new news whatsoever. Play.
You think they'll remove the shift? Do you think that's in play?
I was told by somebody who would know that the baseball, the shift is out.
Wow.
And by the way,
exciting.
And that's a smart move by baseball. Yeah. Why? More base runners.
That's not called by was Colin and Jason McIntyre who did that.
He's got a source when it's already like a month and a half already been decided and reported this is happening. He has a source. That just shows you in the national landscape of things, when you hear stuff about like our ballpark and what's going on and why they sound so clueless, that's not only the host and that's not only the sidekick. That shows you the producers. That shows everybody around that show has no idea. And they only talk football, LeBron James,
Russell Westbrook,
star players in the NBA. But if it's not football star play, they don't talk about anything else. Like that was literally, it had been decided and reported all over. You could have watched, traditionally people would watch Sports Center. It already been on Sports Center for over a month that the rule has already come down.
I sent that audio to myself in November of 2022.
November. They were saying this. We knew
the World Series was over, I think, by then.
We knew this when. When was this? This was actually months. I'm actually giving him. I'm giving him a little more leeway. Yeah, it was months before this, and he's coming on like, I've got a source. Does that just show you have a source? You have what is your source?
I think his source is John Paul Morosi because he works for Fox.
What's your source? Months ago they announced this, and now you're saying you have it really shows how many times these clowns say they have sources and they really don't have sources.
His source was Google.
They don't have sources. But yeah, I think we need to realize people could be tuning on today. Our game is dramatically changing. Dramatically changing. Like a guy is going to step into the box. A pitcher has to deliver the ball in 15 seconds. And with a runner on, it's 20 seconds. And a hitter can only call timeout in an at-bat one time. The bags are all going to be bigger. So we're going to have more bang-bang plays at first base with probably more safe calls. We're going to have more stolen bases. A pitcher can only throw over twice. If he throws over a third time and does not get the runner, it's now a balk. He gets free 90 feet. That happens at each base. So you get 2 freebie throwovers. A third one's a balk at first. You go to second base, starts all over again. You get 2, you don't get it, boom, third's a balk. So you're going to have base stealing going way up. Dave Roberts did an interview, manager of the Dodgers. He kind of said what I said to you last Wednesday, where I said, what's the one thing that motivates players? There's one thing that motivates players. Money. Dave Roberts put it a little better than I did, who said they need to be incentivized.
What are you talking about stolen? I heard this was stolen bases, right?
Yeah, they need to be incentivized. He thinks it's going to go up 10%, but we don't know. But he thinks guys need to start getting paid. How about the whole, guys get hurt stealing bases. Like, oh, my God.
Who was the last guy you heard of got hurt stealing a base?
I mean, come on. You know what hurts more? Watching you guys take called third strike looking for a walk. That hurts us more than you sliding into second base, all right? 3 true outcomes, don't want to see it. So he believes 10% will go up. But all these new rules are happening that are literally going to change our game. Our game is going to dramatically change. When you watch a pitcher, and I can't remember who said this, they think it's going to affect the hitter more than it's going to affect the pitchers. Because pitchers, for the most part, we see them work longer in regular season game, but in spring training games, I forgot about it. Guys are getting the ball and going. And all these kids coming up from the minor leagues, they're used to the pitch clock, which we're calling the pitch timer, not pitch clock, because clock is a dirty word in our game. They think it's going to affect the hitter, that the hitter's like, you're going to get in the box, and all of a sudden the pitcher's just rapid firing at you. You're not used to that at first. And I'm like, wah. Get in the box and let's go.
You want to know who the slowest batter? I'll give you the top 3 slowest batters in baseball when it comes to pitch tempo.
Oh,
wow. Getting into.
Do not go against our guy from Cal and Bellarmine.
Number 3 would be Mark Canha. He takes him an average of 21.8 seconds in between pitches.
Wow.
JD Martinez, now Dodger. JD Martinez, 22 seconds. And Christian Vasquez, I believe he's now a Minnesota Twin. 22.8 seconds.
Well, yeah, it's 15 seconds. So you got all these guys, Kyle Tucker, the Polar Bear,
Bryce
Harper,
Wilson Contreras.
You got to get your butt in the butt. Juan Soto, there's a shocker. Our own Sean Murphy, now an Atlanta Brave.
Murph was at 20.1. I'm trying to see, where's the next closest current A on this list? Might have to go for a while.
You know how many of these guys are not even close to 15 seconds?
No, the fastest guy last year with bases empty was Orlando Arcia of the Braves, who was 15.9.
So there is not one player in Major League Baseball whose tempo was under 15 seconds last year?
No, Marcus Semien was 6, and he was 16.3.
I stand corrected. This is going to dramatically affect the hitters, at least at first. There's not one player in Major League. This is why we need to talk about these rules. And I know for some of you hardcores out there, you're like, why are you guys talking about? We already know this. I'm telling you, I play with 2 guys. Like, for one, the Red Sox fan, Bill, he's going to Singapore on business, and he's going to be flying during the Super Bowl. It made me think, yeah, there's a lot of people, they have like real lives, real jobs, real concerns, families. They're not sitting here worried about that the bags are bigger. I didn't even think, I literally didn't even think of that. Like these guys, and these guys were like, look at me going, does that really happen? Really? Next year? There's no shifting? Yeah, cleat, cleats got to be in the dirt. I'm like, yeah, that's happening next year. I'm like, pitch timer. I'll call it a pitch clock because it's a dirty word. But yeah, it's happening. You got to get on the mound, throw the ball. You got to get in there and you got to hit. No more Garcia Parra doing the batting gloves.
Well, I was just going with runners on, Mark Canha moves up to second slowest at 27.4 seconds.
Seriously?
Only Trevor Story slower at 27.5.
Okay. Let's just do. Yeah, I'm going to give you a little. I'm going to give you a little lesson here. You ready to go? We are all going to be quiet, and it's going to be tough for you listening. You think 27 seconds is nothing? 27 seconds is nothing, right? We're going to go dead air for 27 seconds, and you'll see how.
Oh, boy.
In radio, people would be freaking out. They think the transmitter's down. The transmitter's down.
Program director will be running into the studio.
Oh, my God, what happened? All right, you ready? The ball is pitched. Mark Canha has looked at it. The catcher has thrown the ball back to the pitcher. 27 seconds. You ready? Pitcher has caught the ball. Oh my God.
You nailed Trevor's story on the money, 27.5.
27.5. How much?
Look, see, 27.5.
Cody's sweating. He's a.
Well, I held my breath.
He's a terrestrial radio guy. He's sweating. That's so long. How long? If you're watching us on Twitter, YouTube, not a big deal. If you're just listening to us, or if you download this later on and you're listening, you're like, damn, that was a long time. That's how long it takes for Story and Canna to get back into the box and hit after the pitcher gets the ball. 27 seconds. Well, what happens if it's like an 8-9 pitch at bat? Canna sees a lot of pitches. And you're going almost 30 seconds between every pitch.
That's at least 3 minutes of time.
That's a long time. And that's what we're talking about with Glenn Kuiper, the face of A's television. Like, you're a broadcaster, you're going 4, 5, could be 6, 7 minutes without a ball ever being put in play. If Canna and Trevor Story played on the same team and they hit back to back, you literally could probably go minutes without seeing any ball put in play. What if they both walked and it was like a 3-2 count? It could be like 10 minutes. You had two guys hit for 10 minutes and nothing happened. That's crazy. So, yeah, for everybody out there, rules are changing. And there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to come to baseball at the beginning of March, beginning of April, and they're going to be like, what the hell is going on? I would probably say now that I had two guys who go, yeah, I love baseball. They're like, I grew up with it. I was in Michigan. I was in Boston. My kids and da 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 da. And then all of a sudden, they're two business guys. They love game. Both guys. I love going to the Coliseum. And these guys are talking about how really all this stuff, because people have heard about it. People have heard about it. But I don't know how many people know, because let's face it, you go to ESPN.com right now, you've got to click on the baseball section.
Correct.
So where do people get their sports news, right? You're not getting baseball right now. Unless you go to MLB Network, you're not getting baseball coverage. So there's going to be a shocker. I didn't think about that. There's going to be a major shock that baseball fans, the casual fan, which is more than the hardcores, we need as many casual people as we can get. There's going to be a significant amount of people in every single market who are going to come to a baseball game, who are going to tune into television. They're going to tune into A's Cast, their radio, and they're going to be like, what the hell is going on? Well, we're sitting here thinking, where have you been? The reality is they're not here. They don't know. You realize that?
Yeah.
No, I seriously, did you thought about that before this show?
No,
because you live this. We live this. We're idiots that every day, Cody and I are on Twitter. We're on different websites. If you saw our text thread, we're sending stories to each other. We're up on everything. And I mean, the fact that I'm like, wow, Julio Teheran is making a comeback with the Padres now. I wish I had better things going on in my life than knowing that.
Padres making a bunch of news. Darvish signed another deal. I mean, they're apparently according to Bob Nightingale, we can get in this after, maybe with Eno. Apparently, according to Bob Nightingale, the Padres potentially want to give Manny Machado a 10-year, $400 million extension. I
didn't know that the Padres were in on Trey Turner originally.
Well, they originally had him when he got drafted.
I mean, they offered him a big deal. Steve Cohen, Jeff Passan and Steve Cohen did an interview. Pretty fascinating stuff from the one owner who wants to spend a lot of money. That's one of my questions. I have it for we don't have Eno yet, do we?
No.
I'm going to ask you real quickly because I'm asking Eno this too. Cohen's a rogue owner. He's rogue. He's gone rogue. He's like spending so much money, it's crazy.
He's
right?
modern day George Steinbrenner.
But this is different because there's a luxury tax.
Yeah.
Steinbrenner could spend as much as he wanted, and he wasn't getting penalized. You get penalized for spending all this money. Is a rogue owner good for the game? Yes or no?
I'm gonna go no.
Okay. Why?
Because I think it makes other teams look bad because he's spending all this money when he's spending all this money, doesn't care because he wants to win, where other teams aren't spending money and they don't care about winning. Like, I'll give you a perfect example: Pittsburgh. They don't care.
Well, I heard Ben Cherington. Ben Cherington.
He loves O'Neal Cruz. I heard
Oh
this.
boy, well, you got to have a special first baseman just to catch the ball coming from O'Neal Cruz. Like, shut up. I'm gonna flip the script. I almost went like Fee Fan Friday. Free
Friday.
I think it actually is good. Gives you a villain. And also, let's face it, only one team wins the World Series.
Breaking news.
Is that brilliant, right? You could put a needle point that onto a pillow. One team wins the World Series. So nobody really has good odds that they're going to win. Correct?
Correct.
Only one team's going to win. Like by this time July, no one's going to care the Phillies were in the World Series and lost.
No. Only people care now.
Whoever loses the Super Bowl Sunday, by the time the season starts and you're in week 5, week 6 of next year's NFL season, nobody's going to care that you lost the Super Bowl. So I got to tell you, you spend all this money and you lose all this money in tax money and you don't win. That allows people to go, see, you can spend all the money you want. Doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. I mean,
I can see a rogue owner. Well, ask this.
Well, Eno's here. Let's add him.
Well, can we give the man his due here?
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
I only have 2 major questions for you today. One, what beer are you drinking at your Super Bowl party?
Just got a my wine place, my beer place burnt down.
What?
Yeah, so I had to call in and they have a different location where they've collected some beer for me. And
are you okay?
I did email my guy. I was like, "Are you okay?
You need to talk? Do we need to?"
He's got some.
With me, Cody. I want to sit here. Cody, move the camera so it gets me. There you go.
He's got some North Park waiting for me from San Diego, so I'm gonna have some North Park.
North Park is where my family's restaurant is in San Diego. The San Diego Chicken Pie.
I love North Park. Yeah.
A lot of people go, "Where is that?" It's by the zoo. So if you've ever been to the San Diego Zoo, there you go.
North of the park.
Okay, so when you start thinking about beer, what is the what do we need? What Super Bowl time? I got a bunch of people coming over. I got to entertain.
Yeah, I like to also have some Pilsners because not everyone likes IPAs. Yeah. And some people got to keep it light, maybe only have 1 or 2 out there. So, I tried to have some Pilsners. And you know what I also throw in? Modelo.
Mexican beer is always a good call.
For the people who just want a lager, it's like a little bit slightly different than just a Budweiser. And I'll dig on a Modelo on a hot day too. So yeah, that's my sort of I'm having people over is some Modelo, a Pilsner, and then not the double IPAs, usually just single IPAs and maybe not all hazies too.
Yeah, because hazies, not everybody loves hazies, but if you do like an IPA, like I've always Modelo or I can do Tecate. I grew up drinking both down in Southern California. A Bud Light, something that you got to have something for, there's some people I don't drink anymore, but even when I did,
I don't drink your fancy ass beers.
I'm not a big Coors. I was never we called it Girls Light, Coors Light. But you're right. Your cooler's got to have something for everybody.
Yeah, so that's a big one. One of the local IPAs that I think is really good for it's simple, clean, not hazy, really classic is Faction. Faction has really good IPAs. They're out there in Alameda, and I happen to have some the Penske File IPAs on tap. That's like a Seinfeld reference, but that's one of my favorite IPAs from them. They're just really, really good classic IPAs.
And what dish has to be served to make it a Super Bowl party?
Wings.
There you go.
There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds of chicken is going to be consumed in the form of wings this weekend.
The amount that, like, whenever you see those lists of how much pizza and how much chicken wings is consumed, it's insane. Like, I'm already, so my golf course, give them a shout out, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. I'm playing golf. They're going to have wings made for me. I've now
ready and waiting.
Instead of sitting there and doing my smoker, I'm going to play golf, walk off the course. I'm getting 5 dozen wings, and I'm bringing them to my Super Bowl party.
Yes.
I did it last year. I showed up with these chicken wings, and everybody was coming up to me. I really like your wings. And I was like,
oh yeah, I worked real hard on them.
Yeah, I sat here all day doing buffalo wings. You're right. It's brilliant. They give me all the carrots, all of the celery, and also ranch, blue cheese. It's like, I think I'm getting 5 dozen, and I got a big bag, and I just put it on my buddy's table and go, there's all the wings you need, my friend. And I'm off the hook. Whatever it cost me, I don't care. I didn't have to cook. I got to play golf. It's time for the Super Bowl. I just asked Cody, and because we saw Jeff Passan of ESPN did an interview with Steve Cohen. And it's interesting how Steve Cohen talked about how I didn't create this world. I just live in it. And he's right. He didn't create the baseball world. He just bought into it. Now he's living in it. Is a rogue owner like him, because I said to Cody, and Cody said, well, like George Steinbrenner. No. It's not apples to apples, because George Steinbrenner could spend as much money as he wanted. He was never penalized. He was never penalized a luxury tax. He was never penalized draft picks. He was never penalized international money. This isn't apples to apples. We've got this rogue guy. Cody said bad for the game. I'm like, I think it's actually good for the game. Where are you on the one rogue owner?
I think it's good for the game because it's, we talk about, like when I play games with, like I play Magic with my kids, or when I play like a board game, I get really bored of a game if there's a really obvious way to win it. There's only one way to win it, Then it's like, well, we are all trying to do the same strategy, and whoever does it best wins, and that's it. You
mean like how baseball's played right now?
There's a little bit of that going on in baseball, but a rogue owner implies there's a whole nother way. Like, that's what you mean by, like, when you say rogue owner, I hear, a guy doing something different. I love it. You know what I mean? Like,
I do. Yeah.
Try buy a team. And I think that the way out of getting in trouble, because you will get in trouble with the financial penalties. You also lose some draft picks and stuff like that. The way that he has to thread the needle, if he's going to do it this way, is improve how good they are at turning their prospects into major league players. If they're really good at player development, quote unquote, if they do everything they can to make the most of who they do have, then the draft picks that they lose won't hurt as much. And there is this thing that, like, really only your very top draft pick is the most valuable. And then the bottom of the first round, or the second round pick, or the third round pick, those are all less and less valuable. And if you buy one player and you already lose a pick, you only start losing less valuable picks after it. So it actually makes sense, if you are going in, to go in hard and just do it all, because you're losing less and less valuable draft picks after that. So, just do it. Just go for it. I like it. It's something new in the age of the salary cap. It's something that hasn't really been done this far. I think it's good for baseball. I do worry that, like, I already have DMs of people being like, do you think there's going to be a lockout? They're going to blame it on Cohen, and like the other owners are going to use this. I don't know. There's always like the big market.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
What's that? Yes.
The answer is yes. I said this last year, and I don't want to get into this too much because fans don't care, but I said it. I said, if you think this fight is really between the owners and the players now, it's not. They're putting a Band-Aid
on between the owners.
Yes, this is a Band-Aid. The real fight that is coming after this is going to be year 4. So after this year, we'll have 3 years left. This next fight truly is about the owners. It will be about the owners, and we will have problems. But I agree with you. I
But
think
the reason that I think you're right, and I think the reason why that doesn't mean necessarily lockout is that you need to get a bunch of owners to agree, and that's not always going to be the case.
Well, yeah.
You'd have to have all the small market owners basically gang up on the big market owners. They'd have to be in agreement. There'd have to be basically almost like a 50-50 split.
Well,
And
it's more. It's
that would
more
cause
than
a
that.
rift.
It's more than that. Right now, we're going to do a segment called "The Great Divide," where you have 6 teams will enter spring training with payrolls over 200 million, and then you'll have 11 teams at 100 million or less.
That's
so
crazy.
you start thinking about what happened in free agency for just a handful of teams versus everybody. So there is a whole upper echelon and kind of everybody else mentality that will come to a head, but we'll have years to talk about that. No question. Cody sent me an article, and I know he said you're big on it, and I find it funny being a golfer, knowing that my brother, as a professional, started testing with Titleist down in Carlsbad, their main headquarters, back in the early 90s.
That's a hot place for baseball players now.
Yeah, well, it's like ridiculous. You guys are so far behind.
Yeah.
That Cody says to me, like, literally right before COVID, I redid all my equipment. I was on TrackMan. Titleist is up at my course.
TrackMan, yeah.
I redid everything. Like to you guys, TrackMan. I'm like, I spent over $3,000 in all new clubs. And Cody's sending me a thing going, oh man, Austin Riley's getting a new bat. Has been doing this for over 30 years. Where have you people been? The equipment business, we've been measuring players. Like when I got measured, found out I've got long arms for my size. So I use shorter than the average shaft. My clubs from driver all the way down to my putter are perfectly made for my body. And I'm some nobody radio guy. And yet you guys are like, on The Athletic today, we're finding out we're getting measured for bats. Can you guys get with the times? It's 2023.
No, it's great. I don't know exactly why. I would say the pitchers are ahead. They've been doing, more of this stuff earlier. Maybe hitters just thought, I'm reacting. I don't think it matters. And hitters for the most part, I think, still rely on things like feel. And so they'll say, I can feel my best bat. I can feel which bats are best for my swing. And what was interesting in this piece was they did a couple demonstrations. They're like, hey, Austin, pick out the longest bat. Like, close your eyes and pick the longest bat between these two. And he picked wrong, And I did a piece. Yeah, I did a piece a while back where you get 6 bats from the manufacturer, and actually only 2 of them are better than the rest. Sometimes the hitters you gravitate towards those 2, but sometimes they're not. Because it's kind of hard. You're talking about moment, like the inertia. There's like a moment of inertia. There's like, you're talking about where the weight is. Is it at the end or is it at the handle? So these things can be small, little things can be off, and they can cost you. So there's not only bat fitting, which is getting big now, but is once you get your bats, like being really precise about which one's the best bats in each shipment. So these are 2 things, but also, what they're coming from with Titleist is, they used to have force plates. They would do force plate analysis on your swing too. So to kind of tell you a little bit about your weight transfer from the back to the front. That would be that's a force plate analysis of something that's come from golf. Bat fitting, like golf club fitting, hit tracks where they, when you were practicing, you don't always have to go out to the course in golf. They had hit tracks early where you would just hit and it would tell you how far your hit went. So you can get into a smaller space in the winter, maybe work with a golf pro on your swing, and it would tell you how far your drives were going. That has gone over to hitting. So I would blame the hitters, I think, for just being a little bit behind. And then maybe just the idea that, like, in golf, the ball is just going to stand there, And so maybe people thought for a while, well, golf is different. The ball's sitting there. It's not coming at you at 95, So all that stuff is irrelevant. But other than that, it's very similar. You've got a long club-like implement that you're trying to move very fast and hit a ball very far. Like, those things are very similar. And so I think baseball has basically found the way to, like, take the things that are similar and learn from it.
Yeah, you tell people all the time, it's biomechanics. We're made a certain way with our hands, our wrists, our elbows, our shoulders, our torso, our pelvis. If you go through a baseball swing and then you just take it down to the ground, you see how similar it is.
Very similar.
And it really, it's why I laugh when everybody in baseball thinks they're smart. It's like you realize, like, let's just say golf. Everybody in golf, down to the top amateurs, college, guys like on the Corn Ferry Tour in the minor leagues, everybody has fitted clubs. We all have fitted balls now. They've been doing this for years now.
Wow.
To where our swing, some people hit the ball higher, some people hit the ball lower. So you find the right ball for your swing. We've got it. And then baseball, what do? We just send, as you said, a bunch of crap bats to these minor leaguers.
Yeah.
That are not fitted for them. Minor leaguers just happy to get free bats.
Right.
So you're telling me I'm going to draft a guy. I'm going to invest millions in a signing bonus to him. He's going to go to the minor leagues. And I am personally, as a franchise, not going to matter. He's playing with the best equipment to make him better.
It is strange. When I was,
does that sound?
It is really silly. And that I think that there is it does point to an issue in baseball, which is, so when I did that piece where I was there with these bat weighing people, and they said, of the 6 that you get, 2 are really better and 2 are really bad. Everyone should know this, and we'll do the weighing and we'll give it to you. And when I was talking to this guy, he was talking to major league teams, and they were out there saying, no, thank you to him. Maybe some of them were like, no, thank you, we're going to try and do this. But I would say probably 8 out of 10 are saying, no, thank you, we just don't believe in it, or it's too much work, or we don't want to do it. And I think that what's the expression, penny
pictures,
pound foolish, penny pound foolish, penny. Anyway,
hold on, penny pound. I don't think it's penny pound foolish.
It's the idea that, like, you're pinching the pennies, but you're missing the bigger picture.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, when we're at the winter meetings, a great way to put it. Do you have it? What does penny wise and pound foolish mean? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
What is it, Cody? Go ahead, Cody. What do you got?
It's saying, if you're said to say penny wise and pound foolish, you are extremely careful with smaller, inconsequential amounts of money, but you lose any gains you receive from those savings on extravagant, larger purchases.
So the definition of ignorant is just not knowing the facts. We think of it as a dirty word. You're calling me stupid. No, It just means you don't know the facts. It is amazing. We're at the winter meetings, and you got all these people who think they're smart and they know everything, and how many ignorant people there are in our game who don't know anything, that don't know much about how humans work, from brain power to biomechanics to all these different things. Like, I don't know if it's you guys, The Athletic, somebody did a story, Clemson football now. Clemson has this amazing warehouse that it is the most technology, health, science. It's hot tubs, cold tubs, workout, rehab. They've spent millions, because college football has
collecting data on you at every station.
So they have all this stuff, and you're like, look what a college football team is doing for their athletes.
Wake Forest does that in baseball. Yeah,
they've spent. If you see this Clemson football, it's better than anything any Major League Baseball team has. What they do for their athletes, the millions upon millions they've invested, and then let's fast forward to what do we do with a top draft pick in Double-A? So you're telling me I could be a college football athlete at Clemson? That's how I'm treated? And let's say we just gave a guy $6 million and we've put him in A-ball. Let's go look at our facilities in Stockton.
Here's some raw weights.
Oh, God. It's just, what are we doing?
Yeah, please tell us what you did in there.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So far behind.
Yeah, there's a similar thing in baseball. Wake Forest has an amazing lab. Part of it is because at a college you have a unique confluence of like people who want to research the players,
Hospitals, yeah.
Yeah, hospitals. Yeah, usually have a hospital attached to the school, and so at Wake Forest they have actual like doctors that want to study biomechanics, and the way they do that is they take the student populations playing the student athletes and they put them in a lab, and it's actually a sort of a co-deal between the hospital and the university, and they both get research out of it. They publish research, and so there's a sort of a confluence of like motivations that make that work. But at the same time, you're like a kid going to Wake Forest will see better stuff at Wake Forest than he will see for like the next 3 years after he gets signed. So, that's a problem. It's funny too how when you talk to, some teams have this like growth mindset and they're like, we're trying to learn everything. We won't tell you, screw you on anything. You have a bat fitting thing. Tell me more about it. Let's see if we can include this in our process. And they talk a good game. So then you get this idea of like, oh, there are teams that have this growth mindset, and there are teams like the Astros and the Yankees and the Dodgers who are doing everything they can do. And then you get this idea, oh, baseball is learning. No, there's still like 5 teams that really care about all this stuff and will learn from anything and will listen to any presentation at the winter meetings because they might learn from it and will make deals and will try to improve their process. And there's 25 other teams. And of the 25 other teams, there's maybe 5 that are trying to be in that top 5. And then there's 5 who are trying to be in that top 5 are just not any good at it. And then there's 10 who are not trying at all. They're just, and I think there's one locally. They might be starting the process. They did an important sort of restructuring internally where they put some of their R&D guys in charge of player development. So there's going to be more. They're trying to put some attention to it. But this is the first time the A's are trying to put any attention on this in a long time. And they cut their R&D department in the early 2000s. They've had the smallest R&D department since, and they have not really invested in player development. They are among the 10 worst teams in player development.
Well, to me, this is what fascinates me. Like when all these articles, and you guys all do a great job at The Athletic or whatever, and I see this stuff and people want to talk about analytics to me, I just laugh at it and I go, I don't care about your math equations. I don't care about your math equations because that's all analytics are. They're mathical or let's say sabermetrics. I'm interested in how the human brain works. I'm interested.
I would say that's analytics too, dude. I mean,
no, they've been doing data on human beings well before baseball guys started writing for The Athletic.
Okay, what I would say is a progressive organization can do what you're talking about and doesn't. Yes, they can be separate.
How human,
you got to do all of it.
Yeah, how human beings are successful. I'm not.
Yeah, you're talking about. Yeah, you're talking about
neuroscience,
how the brain works, how the body works, biomechanics.
How different people, how human beings register.
That requires data work, though, and we're talking about data. So,
I get it, but that's not what people are doing with how do you get OPS plus.
Right, yeah, like a wins above replacement is so far in the rear view right now. Yes, so the better teams are doing what you're talking about. They're trying to look at how batters see the ball. They're looking at gaze. They're looking at how the interaction between how my eyes work and how the pitch comes in. That's the sort of stuff.
Why did Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds see it one way and Joey Gallo doesn't? Mm-hmm. Why doesn't Joey Gallo pick it up? Like this is crazy stat about Tony Gwynn. You got a moment? I just got to go to my buddy here. Sent this out about Tony Gwynn with 2 strikes. It literally floored me, this stat. It should floor you. Here it is. Best career batting average with 2 strikes. Think about this. You got 2 strikes on you. What do you think Tony Gwynn's career average? This is his career average with 2 strikes.
I'm trying to do real quick here is what the league is right now. But
this would be great. You could find that fast. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think this is it. League. I think the league hits. 220, 171. I think the league hits 171 this year. So I'm going to guess he was like, I want to guess like a 300. That's ridiculous. So I'm going to say like 275. It's to be 100 points above average.
League hits what? 170 what?
Yeah. 171.
171. You think 275. Tony Gwynn hit 302.
No, he hit over 300.
Wade Boggs hit. So career best batting average. Oh, so it's 1988 to 2022. So since 1998 to 2022, best career batting average with 2 strikes. Tony Gwynn at 302.
That's ridiculous.
The next closest is Boggs at 262. Former A, Luis Polonia, 261. Juan Pierre, 260. No one wants to put Todd Helton in the Hall of Fame. He was at 258. Ichiro at 253.
Todd Helton's the first power hitter.
Tony Gwynn at 302. Tell me why. Now, remember, Tony Gwynn also is a phenomenal athlete. He's one of the only guys ever in the same town to be drafted by 2 teams in the same year. Was drafted by the Padres and the Clippers. Could have played in the NBA. I still believe Tony Gwynn is the all-time assist leader in basketball at San Diego State. But why did Tony Gwynn or a Wade Boggs or these guys see it, and our own Chris Davis got to a point he couldn't even make contact? See, that to me is the study. Chris Davis's body, some of these guys, and the other Chris Davis, the Orioles Chris Davis. Remember, this guy was an MVP candidate. How do these guys all of a sudden, we see it in golf too. How does a guy go out there, be a great golfer, and then just lose it? And that's all a mental thing. There's so many things that we have not tapped in baseball that to make players better, that's where we need to go.
Yeah, there's a really interesting thing that the Red Sox were doing when they found Mookie Betts. I think of Mookie Betts as similar to Tony Gwynn. I know that they aren't exactly the same, but they come from different generations. And so this generation cares about power. They want Mookie Betts to hit 30 homers. If you're going to hit 30 homers, you may not hit 302 and 2 strike counts. You know, like it's a kind of a different thing that he's trying to do. But Mookie Betts reminds me a little bit of Tony Gwynn, where he has really great contact ability. He can put it anywhere and he can really fight off the ball. And one thing that they did was this sort of neurological scouting that you're talking about, where they actually just had like a computer program that was kind of a game, where they would kind of like show you a ball for 5 seconds, like not even 5 seconds, or like a half a second, and then you'd have to be like ball, strike, slider, whatever. And they just were studying their own players with this sort of neurological scouting to kind of get a sense of like what the best players were doing, what it looked like internally in their heads, and how they could find it in other players. I think it's part of why they went and drafted a guy like Nick York. I think was one of their last draft picks. He was their first draft. It was first round draft pick, and it was off the board completely. It was like everyone thought that was a 20 round reach. And one of the reasons was Nick York makes a lot of contact and seems to really see the ball well. So there are teams that are asking the questions that you're asking. And then sometimes they take it too far and make mistakes. I think, so for right now, the Marlins want to make contact this year. They say they want to make more contact. Great. Contact is good. Teams that make contact do better. They went and traded Pablo Lopez for Luis Arraez, who's a great contact hitter, but he's more like Tony Gwynn defensively. Like he's not a good second baseman. And their team, in this whole idea of making contact, their team now has 4 or 5. I think I have 5 second basemen on one team. So they're going to have
us with catchers. We got a bazillion of them.
Yeah, at least catchers are really important defensively. Second base, they got a second baseman at shortstop, a second base in center, a second base at center at second, a second base at first, and a second baseman at util.
It's like having a team all of tight ends. Where are we going to put these guys? Well, we'll put you at D-line. We'll make you into a tackle. Hey, we got a bunch of big guys. Yeah,
I think I'd rather have too many catchers. I mean, there's actually people in front offices that tell me you can't ever have too many catchers
until they got to play.
Then you got to trade one away, I guess.
Yeah.
No problem.
Great stuff. Yeah. And I'm glad we talk about this stuff, because I want this show to be different. I want people to know that there's more than just sitting around and looking at the same stuff. The game has to evolve. All sports evolve. They're always evolving. I mean, the NBA now, with what they're doing so much with monitoring their players, with sleep and how much they're exercising, what are the flights, what the long flights do
That's
to
going to
them.
become more important with the new new schedule. The new schedule is going to penalize people because everyone has to play everyone. So the Bay Area guys, they're adding about 8 to 10,000 miles onto their travel this year. And we know that part of home field advantage is how far you came to get to the game, and especially actually how many time zones you crossed to get to the game. So it's basically jet lag is a big source of home field advantage. So what can you do about
Talked
that?
about that for years in the NFL. A West Coast team going to an East Coast team where your body clock, it's
not lined up.
It's a 1 o'clock game. So let's say you're the Raiders, Niners, whatever, and you fly to New York. And I can tell you this as someone who traveled with the team, and you drank all night long and how you felt. But if you're a player and it's 1 o'clock, it's really 10 a.m. Your body says it. And the human body, I remember Cal that one time. Cal had to play this super early game against Maryland.
Oh, and their kids too, yeah.
And you're like, your body clock says it's like 6:30 in the morning. Your body's not ready to start hitting other human beings at 6:30.
No.
They got drilled in that game because, you know, how much of it was my body clock, my body is not ready to perform at this maximum effort.
Well, baseball is a little limited by how tight the schedule is. Football, you could say fly out to New York on Monday, for a Sunday game. Just get used to it over there. Practice somewhere over there. There are things that football teams do like that baseball teams can't quite do. You can maybe do it a little bit in the postseason. Sometimes they send their starting pitcher ahead.
Yeah.
You go there and sleep a couple nights and be there and be waiting, be ready. So there are little things that baseball teams can do. One thing that I think baseball needs to think about is, what about a 154 game schedule? What if we threw some more off days into the schedule? What if we had a day off every week?
Are players going to take less money to play less games?
I would say just take the same money and distribute it over the 154. It's something that it was something that would cause a ruckus because money, because of money. But if you could find a way to make the same amount of money, and maybe you could do it in tandem with expanding, because then the owners get money from the expansion. You get 2 new expansion teams. You have to fit them into the schedule. Maybe it's a lot easier if everybody's at 154.
All right, I know I got to let you go. Are you going to do an article sometime before the start of the season? Which of the new rules will affect the game the most?
I've tried to look at that, and I think it might be the shift one. It's funny because if any one player may not be affected that much, but the game as a whole, I have one analyst telling me may add a run per game on each side.
Well, I'm hoping it's stolen bases. And I was listening to Dave Roberts, and he was talking about until players get incentivized, until they start getting more money to steal. But I'm hoping that it just opens up for everybody to realize, like back in the day, we're looking at Sal Bando could hit 25 home runs and steal 22 bags. I'm hoping it just, not only do we get some 80 stolen bases.
Sal Bando stole 22 bags in a season.
How many bags was that? Go get that real quick.
That's hilarious. I would never have thought that.
Everybody used to steal, right? So it's like,
one thing I have noticed is I do think that they do get paid a little bit for steals. Look at Aaron Judge. All of a sudden stole 16 in his walk year. Dansby Swanson stole the most he'd ever stolen in his walk year. They do it in their walk years a little bit, but they don't want to get injured in between.
Who do you want me to look up?
Sal Bando.
It
was just like randomly. It's like, Sal Bando stole 22 bags that year. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
I'm hoping they'll change the math.
In 76, when the A's stole 341 bases, he had 20 steals that year. He was a 2020 guy.
340 steals as a team. I love it. I want to. That's what I'm saying is, like, make there be more different ways to win a game.
Yes.
Let there be a go-go team. Like maybe the Marlins or whoever it is. Let just go out there and just steal 350 bases.
Let's go.
With Ruiz, Laureano, all those guys.
Everybody's got the green light. Let's go. And that's what you're talking about, doing things differently. That's what I'm thinking. The stolen base could be like, Let's go. Let's just run. Everybody run.
And I think the Marlins are thinking about the shift, and they're thinking, hey, let's make a bunch of contact, because if we make a bunch of contact, they won't be able to shift us and prevent the runs as much, and we'll get a bunch of singles.
Think about this, I'm leading off, and I know the runners are going to be able to time the pitch. The pitch working.
The pitch clock is counted down.
We're not calling it a clock. It's a timer.
Oh, a timer. Oh, so we don't have any clocks in baseball?
It's a dirty word. It's a timer. But if I'm a guy leading off and I got
Orwell lives.
If I'm like leading off and I got a big lead and I see that thing's counting down to 3, 2, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we see an explosion, that we see 80, 70, 60 stolen bases, and then the Sal Bandos of the world, they get 15, 20, and now our numbers just taking 90 feet constantly will be so much better.
Also, running from first to third is 8 inches shorter now. My favorite play is the triple. And the triple is basically powerful contact, but it's about contact and being fast and being athletic.
And good routes. You got to have good routes.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
I don't know enough. I'm a fair weather 49ers fan. All
right. You know what? Drink a lot of beer and have a great time with friends and family.
Yeah, it's freeing to not care, I just see people, watch a couple commercials. Oh, look at that replay. All right.
Oh, here's a hazy.
Yeah.
Play the man his closing.
The Eno Sarris Show is sponsored by Fieldwork Brewing Company. With 8 taproom locations in Northern California, Fieldwork brings you fresh craft beer direct from the source. Fieldwork will also ship beer direct to your door if you live in California. Visit fieldworkbrewing.com.
Go to Fieldwork for your Super Bowl party. Great stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.
The great Eno Sarris right here from The Athletic. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fat. So, question I had, rogue owner, good for baseball, bad for baseball? You said bad. I said good. Eno said good. Thought that was interesting. Another thing about the Dodgers, talk about Dave Roberts and stolen bases, because the Dodgers have been the favorite. They've been, according to Vegas, the last couple of years, they have been the favorite.
I have it right here too.
Who's the favorite now?
According to the latest projections,
it's got to be the Astros
from the Superbook.
Got to be the Astros.
The favorite to win the most games this year in Major League Baseball is a tie between the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
But what's fascinating about the Dodgers is they've lost a lot of people.
Turner, Bellinger.
They've lost a lot. They've lost a
no
lot.
Bueller.
They've lost a lot of guys. Like even Walker Bueller, you can maybe say, what about September? I don't think they're second Tommy John. They're not going to rush anything. We'll see in 2024. Justin Turner was the leader of that team. And some people poo-poo leadership. They poo-poo chemistry. I get it. But you've got a lot of new dynamics with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they are not better from a standpoint of just production. So I'm interested in seeing the changes of the Dodgers personnel to where Dave Roberts big mouthing last year, and rightfully so. I loved it. We're going to win the World Series. Yeah, you should say that. The Astros should come out and go, yeah, we're here to repeat. We're not here to go to the ALCS and lose. We're here to win. But Dave Roberts is like, yeah, we gotta kind of see. Here's something that who do we got next?
Scott Miller.
Scott Miller. Something we can bring up. You realize that with the Orioles have passed on a new 5-year lease. I don't know how many people are paying attention to this. Once again, we live in this baseball world that most people don't care about. Orioles are passing on a 5-year new lease with the Maryland Sports Authority, whatever they're called. You've got the brothers, the Angelos brothers, suing each other. Now, they've agreed to stop suing each other.
I saw that.
Okay. But that's where the rumors have been, moving the Orioles out of Baltimore to Tennessee, which I don't think would ever happen, but I don't put anything past anything anymore. But that's obviously Nashville's for Dave Stewart and the Nashville Stars. That's what baseball wants. But you never know. I mean, Al Davis proved I can move my franchise anywhere I want. You want to fight in court? And Al Davis won those fights in the end. So I started thinking about it. Like, you got some serious question marks going into this season with just franchises. We obviously, the A's, everybody knows we're in our area. A lot of people know about our issues with stadiums. Tampa Bay still is not even close to anything. You got the Orioles, which is a mess, ownership-wise and future of the franchise. They can say all that. Anybody can say, Orioles are never leaving. Orioles are okay, but they've got problems. Then Artie Moreno and the Angels. We're going to sell, not going to sell. We don't know the future of ownership with the Angels. You literally have almost 14% of your sport has some type of what's going on. That's a lot. 14% of your 30 franchise. Almost. It's 13.33. You'd round down. So 13%. But to have that many, I like to go 14, seems a little more dramatic. To have that many franchises that there's unknowns, not about who's starting opening day, not, hey, who are we going to take in the draft? You've got quite a few franchises unknown about how their future is. In 2023, do we have that in the NFL?
I was just trying to do a quick analysis in my head. I don't think so. I don't think.
Do we have that? I mean, the biggest problem they'd probably have is the Chargers in LA, but the value that's in the Spanos family. But in the end, the value of the franchise since they moved to LA has gone up. So for the most part, the NFL's set. I don't know, but I think everything's pretty set in the NBA.
Yeah, I know they talked about expanding to Vegas eventually, but nothing was. I don't know anything about their.
But the current owners and stuff, there's not a problem.
Yeah, because the Clippers have their.
Clippers are building a new arena. Steve Ballmer, they're fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other team. Nope, Brooklyn has their own stadium.
Phoenix Suns got sold.
Yeah, their new owner won for it, getting Kevin Durant. He doesn't care.
So I mean, yeah, the NBA is all set. I'm looking at baseball. And these are just the things we know. Right? We don't know about other teams. We know 4 franchises. There's a lot of unknown.
And in
that's a lot.
And in hockey, I know for sure. I mean, the Arizona Coyotes are playing at the Arizona State.
That's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah, you got that, and I don't know how. I don't honestly know enough about the inner politics of the Canadian teams, but I'm pretty sure I think Edmonton needs a new arena.
But wouldn't you say for our sport, that's a lot?
Yes. What do you want to make more dramatic? Almost 15. Just say almost 15%.
You got another team for me?
No, I was just going up.
Well, I just, you start looking around. I mean, yeah, I guess you could clearly say things are still kind of, even though they have a new building, but things have never really been settled in Miami.
Oh, never mind. I was wrong. The Oilers have a new arena. So, okay, so they're figured out.
That would get me. Well, thank you for looking at that. Everybody, the Edmonton Oilers, as our friend Brody Brazil would say, the oil are okay.
I heard that's an awful town to go out in though when you're on a road trip.
Edmonton? I've never been to Edmonton, Canada.
I think when I used to be close to some of the Sharks PR people, they told me it's the worst place to go.
Can't imagine it's a lot of warm resorts and people hanging out outside.
Because they said like the city was like 30, like all this stuff was like 30 minutes from where you're staying.
And it's freezing cold.
Yeah, it's Canada.
So you want to get in an Uber when it's minus what? Yeah, no thanks. I thought that was interesting. I think that's interesting. We got a lot, and the owners technically aren't they meeting right now, or they just met in Palm Beach?
Yeah.
And then that gets me to one of the topics I wanted to get into today, and Scott Miller's going to join us. I now have the actual numbers in front of me. I have the paper. I got paper in front of me. I don't have the issues. And we kind of talked a little bit about this on Wednesday, but now I have the official numbers. That 6 teams will enter the season with payrolls exceeding $200 million. 6.
Can I guess them? Yankees, Padres, Dodgers, Astros.
No, Astros are not.
Atlanta.
Astros are not even close.
Atlanta.
Okay.
That's how many? 4? Boston?
No, I'm close. Boston's 14th. You have the Astros, they're 11th. We're talking 6. You can't even get the top 6. You're guessing teams not even that are out of the top 10. This is how whacked things are.
Toronto?
Toronto?
And
You didn't mention the Mets.
oh, yeah. So Mets, Yankees, Padres.
It goes Mets, Yankees, Padres, Phillies, Dodgers, Jays. I want you to listen to this. The Great Divide. There's never been a greater financial gap in baseball history between the haves and the have-nots. Just think about this. Cody started guessing teams. One team just won the World Series. One team has the highest ticket prices in all of baseball. Cody just immediately went, because you think, yeah, well, how does a team who just won the World Series not a top 6 payroll team? Not even close. Houston's going to come in 11th. Boston Red Sox have the highest tickets in baseball. They're 14th. The Chicago Cubs, pretty big market team, right? They're going to be 13th. I mean, teams that you would think, 13th. Angels have been spending a grip of money for years. They've got huge they're just 10th. So once again, you've got 6 teams that have payrolls of $200 million or more. And you got 11 teams that are under 100. Under 11 teams. The majority of your sport is under 100. This divide is crazy.
Do they list the 11?
I can give you any. Who do you want?
Obviously.
Nobody wants to hear you do 11. Okay.
Yeah.
So, no offense.
But it's mainly going to be,
I'll give you the last one. Athletics, Orioles, Pirates, Rays, Royals, Reds, Guardians, Nationals, Marlins, Brewers, D-backs. There you go. That's all your teams in order. D-backs, Brewers, Marlins, Nationals, Guardians, Reds, Royals, Rays, Pirates, Orioles, A's.
And the Rays just re-signed a bunch of guys and gave up money.
All under $100 million. And then Pittsburgh gets over that. They're at 105.4.
Pittsburgh.
I mean, Detroit.
I would say
So then $2.6 billion. $2.6 billion was spent by 7 teams in free agency. The other 23 teams spent only $877 million. 7 teams spent $2.6 million on players. 7. The rest of baseball, the 23 only spent $877.
There's one more too. It's not in there. But
the Great Divide.
Travis Sawchik had in his article from The Score, I think it was last week, the money that the Yankees gave Aaron Judge this offseason, what was it, $360 million, somewhere around there. That's more money than 3 franchises spent combined in the last 20 years in free agency.
It's crazy. But now what does that do you think that leads to success? And the answer actually is yes. In the past 6 years, 10 of the 12 teams in the World Series ranked in the top 10 in payroll. Do you know what that percentage is? 83.8. You like to round up and down. So
84.
That's 84. 84% of the teams in the World Series the last 6 years were a top 10 payroll team. These numbers are like, wow. I mean, you think about it. It's like, wow. Yeah, I mean, the difference between the highs and the lows. And then you get back to what I said earlier. You've got at least 13% of your teams going into the season with uncertainty. Why don't we hear baseball talking about this? We always hear, why is it? And we have to tread lightly, obviously, because we have a lot of things that we need baseball to help us with, no question. But it's just like, man, all I know is when I was working in the NFL, they had an issue in St. Louis, they had an issue in San Diego, and they had an issue in Oakland. All 3 of those cities had an issue at the same time. You know what they did? They took care of those issues. And now they don't have issues anymore. And it was like that.
Interesting what happened to all 3 of them.
All three of them.
They all left.
They all left, and they all became much higher in value. They all became much higher in value. They went. Raiders soared up the board in franchise wealth and what they're making. Crazy. I mean, look what the Rams are worth now, being at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. But all I'm saying is, I was working in the NFL. I'll never forget my talk show. I know a lot of people were listening to it that night because the rival station they had no idea what was going on. But we were on it. Those owners meetings and how that went down, where the owners it was in Houston, and the owners came out. They had that 7 or 6 owners on a committee who said the best thing is for the Chargers and the Raiders to do a joint stadium in Carson. That's what came out of the morning. And then they went all to breakfast or whatever, went to brunch, lunch, came back later on, and by late afternoon, we're going to change that. It's going to be Rams in Los Angeles. So essentially Jerry Jones stepped in. And Rams, you're going to get Los Angeles. And then San Diego, you're going to have the option to move to LA. And you got to do it by a certain time. And if you don't do it by that certain time, now the Raiders didn't have the option to move to LA. I don't know how many people remember this. I was all over it, as good as anybody in the country. Obviously, I was the Raiders guy on the Raiders station. We were all over it. We were having guests on who were covering it from those owners' meetings in Houston. And what eventually happened as that time was running. So St. Louis immediately moves. San Diego has that option, and it was starting to run out. And the talks were still with San Diego. 1 minute. How often have we heard this? Talks are reopened. Talks are good. Talks have stalled. It's always this, where are we? I don't know. You know what they did? San Diego said, you know what? We're taking the option. We're going to LA. Well, then what happened? Well, then that meant now the Raiders couldn't go to LA. And so now everybody felt the Raiders were what?
Going to Vegas?
No. Were you not following this at the time?
That was, what was that, 20? Yeah, it was. I was working with you. Well, I was working at the station with you.
Everybody said they were stuck. Vegas wasn't even an option yet. They were going down to San Antonio.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mark Davis was taking the helicopter flight to San Antonio. And everybody went, oh, that's Jerry Jones to country. That's never going to happen. But San Antonio is a massive city population-wise. So San Antonio was looked at. But everybody here said the Raiders were stuck. Now they don't have it. They can't. The LA option's off the board because San Diego is now going to LA. How'd that work out? Were they stuck? Is the NFL ever stuck?
No.
Has anybody ever the NFL is ever like, they're going to lose?
Hell, Baltimore Colts up in the middle of the night just left and went to Indianapolis.
Mayflower Moving Company. Remember those trucks? Baltimore Colts to Indianapolis. And what'd they do? They just put another team in Baltimore. They've been there a long time. Whole generation doesn't even remember that the Colts were there. They only know that the Baltimore Ravens have always been the Baltimore Ravens.
Because they came from Cleveland.
It shows you how time. There will be a time, probably 10 years from now, whatever, there'll be kids growing up in Los Angeles who don't even know. Like my buddy Mark Podesta, who you've met. He used to run Frontier 40s, now down in Southern California. His son loves the Rams. He's a little kid, loves the Rams. His son's never even going to know that team was in St. Louis. You think Giant fans ever sit here and think about, when the team was in New York?
No. Probably no.
I've never, all these Giant fans, my buddy, all my buddies, A's fans, are we ever sitting around going, let's talk about the Philadelphia days? You want to talk about the Kansas City? No. Everybody just wants to talk Oakland. Oakland. San Francisco. Neither the A's or the Giants started here in the Bay Area.
No.
I mean, the Niners did.
Correct.
Giants didn't. A's didn't. But we don't worry about those past. So that's why it's like NFL doesn't lose. NFL makes sure they get their business done. And they're not going to get stuck. I just hope with our sport, which I care about, We'll take care of all these issues. Yeah, it's not good to have it is not good to have a team in a major market like the Angels not knowing. Artie, you in, you out? Where are you? You selling? Because they got an issue. It's all around the same thing. They need a new ballpark. That Angels Stadium, they redid it, but the guts of that stadium, that place is old. The place where we play, it's old.
Dodger Stadium's old.
It's old, not that old.
Yeah, they redid it. So I've been there since they've redone some of the renovations from the All-Star game.
Yeah, they've redone it, and that's not. Yeah, what year was Dodger Stadium built? It had to have been in the 60s.
Dodger Stadium was built in it opened in 1962.
Yeah. We're 66. They're old buildings. Dodger Stadium has aged far better. Angel Stadium, I'm going to say that's 60s too.
Angel Stadium opened in 1966.
Same year the Cali was built. Yeah, these stadiums are old. Dodger Stadium, though, different. They're going to keep that, and it's aged well. I mean, you got all this stuff that we see, A's, Tampa, Anaheim, all about stadium. Orioles thing, that's a whole different deal. I don't want to talk too much about that because I just know they've dropped the lawsuit between the two brothers. Peter Angelos is still alive, but he's 93, I think I read. So he's not part of the day-to-day. But there's issues in Baltimore. Major issues.
No, ballparks. I've never been there. My wife's been there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But there's some interesting things going on in our game that I'm sure New York, when they talk about New York, not Yankees, Mets, but the commissioner's office, not happy about that. You'd like to be different. All right, coming up next, Scott Miller is going to join us. Our buddy, the longtime national columnist from San Diego, will join us right here on A's Cast Live.
Oakland Athletics spring training is right around the corner, and you can be part of the excitement. Get your tickets now and plan ahead for a fun-filled trip to Mesa, Arizona this spring. Pack the sunscreen, bring your friends, pick up some ballpark classics, and watch your green and gold get ready for the regular season. Get your tickets today to see the Athletics take on the Giants, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, and more. Tickets are on sale now at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
It's that time of the year. Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2023 season. Don't miss out on securing your tickets for some of the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. Visit athletics.com/tickets to get yours now. That's athletics.com/tickets.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
If you're looking for the latest green and gold gear for the 2023 season, then look no further than athletics.com/shop for your officially licensed gear. That's athletics.com/shop.
Super agent Scott Boras joined A's Cast Live with Townie and discussed the success his clients have in Oakland.
And if a lot of our fans don't know, you've had a great relationship with David Forrest, even a better relationship all these years with Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics. So as we joke, you're bringing Mount Fuji to the Bay Area. He wants to be called Fuji. Just why is he a great fit?
Well, by the way, I always tell every fan, I knew Billy Beane when he could run. Billy Beane could run. So he really could. This guy was a great athlete. He really was. Yeah. But the dynamic of Cintaro is that he's got a big arm. He's always had a big arm. And the question was his command. And this year he developed a splitter. And by throwing the splitter in his arm slot, it allowed him to gain more command of his four-seam fastball. And by having those two pitches, he became dominant the last few months in Japan. And then I give credit to a few teams, particularly the A's, for scouting him. The minute that he was a free agent. They called us. And as I said in the press conference today, we've just had great success in this organization by, we bring Cole Irvin, we brought Frankie Montas, we've had Caprillion come here from the Yankees. Every pitcher that we've brought over, we also represent Blackburn. So every pitcher we brought over here has succeeded. So we kind of feel that this environment is a place for players that we believe are coming to and coming into themselves to really ramp up and develop in the major league.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Streaming from the East Bay, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
And Scott Miller joins us from Southern California. Always great to have him on. Truly one of the best national reporters that we got in the game. It has been a while. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Chris. How are you? It's like Groundhog's Day, The groundhog comes out and says it's time for spring, although he didn't do that this year, which shame on him.
Well, I got to think we're all really excited to get this thing going again. And you've been down there in Southern California around the Padres. And when I heard they had like 50,000 at FanFest, like they were overwhelmed. They just didn't know they were going to have that many people. What a great sign that is.
Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm down here. You're right. I was not at FanFest, but I had some friends and neighbors who went, seeing stuff on social media. And just, I've lived down here for the past 20 or 25 years now and watching the peaks and valleys mostly valleys of Padres baseball and baseball interest in San Diego, period. Frankly, it's ebbed a lot more than it's flowed, but you're right. This year with this particular team, it just sounds FanFest was crazy. They sold it out. There were people who had tickets that couldn't get into Petco Park, and Padres had a little bit of explaining to do to them. But yeah, I mean, it's, there should be excitement. It's a star-spangled team. Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Juan Soto, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove. This is a team that, came within a couple wins of the World Series last year. So, we'll see where they go this year. You know how it is in baseball, Chris, repeating. It's hard to do something for 1 year like the Padres did last year, go to the National League Championship Series. But standing the test of time, especially when you have a collection of talent like that, and repeating and having another, multiple great years in a row, that'll be the Padres' next challenge this year.
Yeah, it happens in all sports, whether, it's for years been, you look at the team that loses the Super Bowl, a lot of times doesn't even make the playoffs the next year. Teams that lose in the NBA Finals or the World Series, it's just tough to get that mojo and that magic back. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up San Diego, we were just talking about what we're calling the Great Divide, where you're talking about a handful of teams, basically 6 teams with payrolls over 200 million, 11 teams with payrolls under 100 million. This is the biggest financial divide we've ever seen in our sport going into this year. You've covered the finances of baseball for a long, long time. Just how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. I mean, the one thing about baseball, unlike football and basketball, as you well know, Chris, the underdogs can win. And in basketball, if you've got LeBron James and somebody else on your team, you may dominate. Whereas in baseball, it's different. So sometimes the Goliaths can knock off the Davids. But that said, with the way the money is in the game today, it just becomes more and more difficult. And the only thing in the Goliaths, in the small underdog David's defense right now, the only thing David has going for it versus the Goliaths are, the extra playoff slots that when baseball expanded last year, we have a couple extra wild card teams now. So, by and large, over the course of 162 games, the teams with those giant payrolls should win. They should dominate. And at the very least, because even if their big people don't perform properly, they're going to have more depth than the smaller payroll teams. I mean, that's the way it is. And depth, as we've seen in baseball, is hugely important in today's game. So the underdogs can sneak into a couple playoff spots, and then they just have to hope they get hot at the right time. Otherwise, eventually you would hope the owners in the game eventually will figure out some kind of financial sharing to melt some of the big divide, as you called it. But I mean, it's there, it's obvious. And, the frustrating thing is, you go back a year ago when we had that lockout, a year ago right now, we weren't talking about going to spring training. We were talking about like serious labor negotiations. And the frustrating thing is, the owners shut the game down, but the system really didn't change much. I mean, we didn't have big change coming out of the lockout. And so all we did was, lose several weeks of spring training last year, and then had to condense the season, scramble to play all 162 games. But the overall system didn't really change. And, I know that's what some of the owners wanted was to change the financial system.
Yeah, we just duct taped it and put it on for another 5 years, but we'll see how that plays out. But on a real positive note, and I brought this up starting today because I played golf yesterday with a guy from Boston and another one from Michigan. So they grew up Red Sox and they grew up a Tigers fan, but they're tech guys. They've come to, the Bay Area to work in tech. They got lives, right? So they're not following baseball the way we do. And when I started explaining to them about, all these rule changes are happening, they're like, that's really going to happen? I started to realize there's a lot of baseball fans who are going to show up in late March or April, the start of the season, and realize, damn, this game has really changed. I'm excited about that. I think stolen bases are coming way back. We already know that this pitch that we don't call it a clock because a clock's a dirty word. We're calling it a pitch timer, is going to change how fast the game. It's going to make the game faster. But all the new rules, I'm excited about it because our game is definitely going to look different. And I believe for the best. And a lot of fans are really not going to know about it. The casual fan really won't know about it until they start consuming the game at the start of the year.
Yeah, no, that's true. And, there was a time several years ago when I would have been considered, a purist, a grumpy old guy. Don't change the game. Don't change it. But I agree with you. I think these changes are good. We've reached a point in the last 5 or 6 years, the way the game has evolved, where somebody needed to step in and do something. And, to your point, hopefully stolen bases come back. I mean, right there where you are, I mean, everybody in Oakland remembers how exciting it was when Ricky Henderson was on the loose and when he was stealing bases.
Well, we got the bobblehead right here. You can't wait for shots, but yeah, we always have Ricky. Can we get some Vince Coleman, some Maury Wills, and some Tim Raines back in the game?
No doubt. I mean, it helps. It breaks things up. It causes different strategy to defend the running game versus what we've seen the last few years, where it's either strikeout, walk, or home run. So yeah, hopefully, the baseball is meant to be a multi-dimensional game, not just a strikeout, home run, or walk. And, stolen bases, that kind of thing's great. I think the pitch timer, as you say, because the game is just ground to a halt, especially when the bullpen comes. I mean, how many nights, this is my biggest gripe. We all know starting pitching isn't what it once was. And, now you rarely see a starting pitcher go beyond the 5th inning, but how many nights during the summer is the game in a good rhythm and you're like, wow, this starting pitcher's rolling. He's got a good tempo going and it's almost a throwback. And you look and you're like through 5. I mean, not that we all want to just go home right away, but we shouldn't be there for 5 hours every night either. So the starting pitcher will be on a roll and, you look and you're just like, wow, we're through, 5 innings and whatever it is, an hour and a half. This is a really nicely crisp, nice tempoed game. And then what happens is, of course, the starting pitcher is done after 5 innings. The bullpen gate swings open, and that's when the game it's like the last 3 innings take 3 hours to play. It's just interminable. And I think the pitch timer, I talked to speaking of grumpy, some grumpy old scouts, longtime grizzled guys that were scouting in the minor leagues last year, and they just raved about the pitch timer. They said that, and these are guys you would expect to be anti any change, but they were like, this game really, in the minor leagues, the game has a real nice pace. So I think that'll be a good thing. And the shift, I know that it has the new rule outlawing the shift has its detractors, but I think this is going to make for a better game. And I think eventually people are going to agree on that.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the reasons why I've always loved having you on the show, you're a great guest. And I just wrote this down. It's a great way to put it. Multi-dimensional game.
Yeah.
And I think about so what makes football great? It had, some teams are pass oriented, some teams are run oriented, some teams like to get after the quarterback, some teams like to play back in coverage. There's different ways to win. And what you just said there, a multi-dimensional game. I mean, I can remember back when you had the Cardinals running everywhere, and Tommy Herr, I don't remember what year, 86, 87, whatever it was.
About that, yep.
He had 100+ RBIs and didn't even have double-digit home runs.
Yes, that was crazy. I think he batted second maybe in the lineup. I'm not sure, but you're right. It was like 9 home runs and 103 ribbies. I mean, It was crazy. Yeah, it was. But, again, there are different ways to score. The game is better when teams figure out ways to score without just sitting back waiting for the 3-run homer. I mean, the home run has its place, don't get me wrong, but when 90% of the runs in a game are just scored by the home run, to me, it's a worse game than if 30 or 40% of the runs in that particular game are scored by the home run. And then the rest are, what's more exciting than a triple when the ball's rattling around up the alley and the base runner's flying around first, then flying around second, and you look and the outfielders are trying to get the ball and rush it in, and now the guy's going to third. I mean, again, yes, multidimensional, when there are different ways to score and teams utilize them. I mean, that's what this game, when it's at its best.
I'm going to use that. I won't steal it, though. I will give you credit.
Okay.
Multi-dimensional game. It's great. Dave Roberts real well, and obviously when we're looking at the favorites, Dodgers are up there. But it's interesting the change. There's going to be a change when you talk about inside their clubhouse, the leadership. Yeah. I think Turner's going to be missed big time, what he brought to them as that veteran guy. Dodgers still have the talent, but it's going to be different. Walker Buehler's probably not back till 2024. The Dodgers have been this team every year. People have been saying, they're going to win the World Series. How do you feel about the Dodgers going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first year that I think going into the year, you might pause and say, let's say the last 8, 9, 10 years, this time of year you look and we all make our predictions. You say, the Dodgers, the NL West is the Dodgers to lose. This is the first year in close to a decade, to me, where you say, you know what? San Diego could win that division. The Dodgers are still good, don't get me wrong, but they're not the juggernaut anymore. You're right. Losing Justin Turner, that's like losing the heartbeat of their clubhouse. Losing the other Turner, Trey Turner. I know everybody thinks of the Dodgers. They think of Buehler and Clayton Kershaw and Mookie Betts, but I'll tell you, Trey Turner the last couple of years, he's what made that offense go. Again, back to the multi-dimensional. I mean, Trey Turner get on base. He could run, smart base runner, fast base runner, one of the fastest in the game. And when he got on the base, that really helped ignite the Dodgers offense. So they're going to miss him. Gavin Lux right now lines up as the probable everyday shortstop. He hasn't proven himself yet. And defensively, it's going to be a downgrade from the Trey Turner and Corey Seager before Trey Turner, the Seager-Turner years. And in the rotation, Julio Urias is really good. But there's some question marks. Kershaw gets older, Hall of Famer to be sure. But, the past few years, he's had back issues. Bueller, as you said, isn't there. So, it's, to me, the Dodgers are in kind of a transitional year. They've got some good young minor leaguers that are ready to break in. They got a kid, Miguel Vargas, may play second base, may play third, probably second. He could be another in the long line of Dodger rookies of the year. So they're going to have some guys like him come up and produce. But, the Dodgers enter the year with more questions to me than they have in a long time.
We went to a place where everybody did not want older managers. Like older, I got to get rid of those guys. You got to go with the young guys, and they got to understand analytics and all of this. And then now with what Dusty has done in Houston, Buck Showalter, on and on, we're now realizing having that veteran, having the adult in the room is a very important. And I think about a guy that real well, and he was always good to us too, Bruce Bochy. And obviously we're going to see a lot of them now in Texas now that he's in our division. And I also want to throw in there, I dealt with him. He was a kind of a grumpy East Coast guy, but he was good to me too. Brian Sabian. You think of the magic that Sabes and Bochy did in San Francisco and the way they were really kind of done wrong. I'm happy that Brian is back with the Yankees again and really back as a decision maker, helping the Yankees, because he wasn't doing much with the Giants. He was just playing out of contract. And the fact that Bruce Bochy is back, both these guys are saying, we never wanted to retire. We are not done. Just two guys that, especially Bruce Bochy, how happy are you for them? They're back doing what they love to do.
Yeah, it very happy. And I think it's good for the game that Bruce Bochy's back. I mean, this is one of the best managers of our time, maybe of any time. He's a genius with the bullpen. He's so good at maneuvering his bullpen and doing what he needs to do there. Obviously Sabian and Bochy, 3 World Series in 5 years. They're an example of how the game's changed. I mean, there was a time when, you win 3 World Series in 5 years. I mean, Bochy could have managed another 10 or 15 years in San Francisco and then retired. And, same with Sabian in the front office. He would have remained there and they both would have retired as Giants years down the road. But, today's, fast-paced change game with short attention spans and with different flavors of the month coming along via analytics, there's just not much permanence anymore. And I think both Boch and Sabian are examples of that. Another one to me, look at, Joe Madden isn't even managing right now. And, he got fired last year with the Angels in June, but I almost link him a little bit. What I just said about Sabian and Bochy, there was a time in our lives a few years back when before the Cubs won a World Series, you would have said, man, whatever manager ends up leading the Cubs to a World Series, that guy can have a job for life with the Cubs, right? Didn't matter. It's like 3 years later, Joe Madden's out. So there's no permanence anymore. There's no, it doesn't matter what you accomplish. It's going to be shorter than later that people are going to be ready to move on because it's really become, what have you done for me lately? I mean, we've talked about that one forever, but in this world, digital world today, what have you done for me lately means within the past year and a half or 2 years. And if you haven't done much, then, we might want to try something else. And I think it's great Bochy's in Texas. As you said, Sabian landing with, his old pal, Brian Cashman with the Yankees. I suspect both of these gentlemen are going to show that they've got something left and that they've got something to offer the game of baseball yet.
It's so funny how the Super Bowl really is the end of the NFL season and makes us baseball people realize, hey, man, I got a flight to spring training on the 21st. I got to start packing. I got to start getting ready. So really this is Super Bowl Sunday. And then you realize it's game on. We're going to be down in Mesa, Arizona. Cannot wait. But for your Super Bowl party, when you're watching the game, what's the dish? What's the drink? What do you have to make it your Super Bowl party?
Well, it's funny you asked that because we're all thinking about that here on a Friday afternoon, less than 48 hours ahead of the Super Bowl. My wife and I, we have some longtime friends. I've gone to the same guy host our Super Bowl party for like literally about 20, 25 years now.
And you love that guy because it's his house and he's got to clean up.
100%. So that your question, what I've started doing the last 3 or 4 years, I've one of my other non-baseball interests, aside from music, is eating, and I love barbecue. And a couple years back during COVID, I got a Traeger smoker, one of those wood pellet grills. And so I've been doing what I'll probably bring on Sunday is a smoked pork butt, which will be, basically pulled pork. And I've gotten pretty good with that particular recipe on the wood pellet grill. So I think we're looking at a little barbecue, a little pulled pork this weekend.
All right. So how long and at what temp do you cook it?
Got to go low and slow to start. So, start low in the 200 to 250 range. Let that go for a couple hours. Even 180, I could. That gets more smoke going. A couple hours there, turn it up a little bit. Then the overall deal is usually about 7 hours. Like I say, start real low, go up into the 200s, let that go for about 4 hours. And then you got to bring the meat itself it comes up to about 160, 170 degrees. Then you pull it, you wrap it in aluminum foil, put it back on until it gets to about 200, 205 degrees internally in the meat. And then that's the point when the fat begins to render and you can, it just falls apart in your hands like candy.
And then everybody's like, this is the best thing. I I have 2 Traegers. I try and tell people all the time, smoking and a Traeger's not something you do. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You got to have patience. I also have a Weber gas grill that I've had forever. I love that too. When I'm in a hurry or need something quicker, I'll sometimes go to the Weber, but I use that Traeger a lot, and it doesn't have, but a lot of it, to your point on a lifestyle, is, because especially if you're doing barbecue, you want to do it right. You need to kind of plan ahead because it needs to be maybe on a Saturday when you're home all day, and you put it on early, let it go for 5, 6, 7 hours before you pull it off, and then it's just, and then as it goes, the smell is great all day, and then the anticipation grows for that dinner later that night.
Well, you're one of our all-time favorites. We always appreciate the time. Hopefully we'll see you at spring training. If not, we'll see you. And everybody's going to see each other now. So we're going to have a better chance to keep seeing you in San Diego.
I know. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Everybody. And I also thought you meant now that we're fully past COVID.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we go in clubhouses with no masks and we can see each other without masks and without the social distancing and all that. So to your point of both what I just said and the schedule is different this year. So every team plays every other team. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Good stuff. Be well. We'll talk soon.
All right. You too, Chris. Take care, my friend.
Always one of the best. No question about it. Scott Miller, longtime columnist. And now we're doing TV and radio down there in San Diego. And you bring up the Padres. Yeah. They have 50,000 people for Fan Fest, and it blew their mind. They didn't have enough line security. I mean, it's a good problem. It'd be a major problem because obviously it makes people angry, but they had no idea it was going to. I mean, how would you know if you have a free fan? I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was free. I just know they had like over 50,000 people. They were completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, I remember seeing pictures of it, and there's a lot of excitement in San Diego. And I mean, it was just announced yesterday. 6-year, $108 million contract extension for Yu Darvish, who is 36 years old. He's going to make $30 million this year. It's a front-loaded deal, according to Mark Feinsand of MLB.com. $30 million. This is now the third 6-year deal he signed in his career. Texas, the Cubs, and now the Padres. And
he signed 3
6-year deals.
He's not old enough to do that.
He signed 3 6-year deals.
But he hasn't completed 3 6-year deals.
No, but he signed. Yeah, but I'm saying
that's great that he signed it, but he hasn't. They've morphed into each other.
He didn't join the major leagues until he's like 20.
He's not an 18-year. It's not going to be 18.
Yeah, what is he? He was 27.
So what happened? So he had a 6-year extension with Texas.
Yep. And then he signed
a 6-year deal, but he never played out that 6 years.
No,
he's traded. He's traded to
the Dodgers.
Chicago.
He traded to the Dodgers.
Dodgers, then went to Chicago.
Yeah, I think he signed as a free agent to Chicago, right? Just look it up.
Because he has not lived. How many years has he pitched?
I think he's only pitched. Let's see, Darvish. Darvish debuted in 2012 when he was 25 years old.
Yeah, so
he's been in the league for, this will be his, Darvish has pitched 10 years. This will be his 11th year.
Huh. Well, 2 6-year, if the way you worded it would be he's played at least 12 years. But he signed so essentially money that, like the Trout deal, people need to understand, like Mike Trout had money on a contract left. They morphed it into the $435 million. So, which I believe it was 435?
435, yeah.
Okay. So Trout was not given a contract of $435 million.
It was just an extension.
It was money that he was already signed and owed, got put into, which made the total now 435. But they had already had that money budgeted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So signed with the Rangers 2012, traded by the Rangers to the Dodgers in 17, became a free agent in 17, signed with the Cubs in 18, and then was traded by the Cubs to the Padres in 2020.
So he's just signing
6-year deals.
But this is different. He never completed.
Yeah, this is
he never completed the 6-year deal that he signed with the Cubs.
No, he's in it right now, and he was coming up as he would have been a free agent.
So they're morphing this contract into this next 6 years.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a free agent after the year. So what's he making this year?
He will make, I believe it's 30. He's supposed to make $30 million this year is what Feinstein said. It's saying 18 on, but that was I think before the extension. So I think Feinstein said he was supposed to be making 30 this year.
Okay, so 19 million of that 109 million extension was already guaranteed to him anyway.
Yeah.
So really, it's like an 80 million extension.
So essentially, he'll be this. It runs through all the way through like 2028. So he'll be like 42 years old or something like that. So good for him. And then Bob Nightingale put out there yesterday that the Padres are maybe looking at 10 years, $400 million for Manny. Still got to re-sign Juan Soto, who everyone thinks is going to be a 7-WAR player all of a sudden again this year.
I heard who was talking about it. I don't remember who was talking about it, but they were like, it's the fascination of walks with him. It's this fascination of how much he walks. It has nothing to do with any other part of his game.
He's not a very good outfielder.
Can't run. Not a good outfielder. Not crazy home runs. He just walks an extreme amount. And it puts him up there. Oh, my God, look how many times, how many years X amount of walks Ted Williams? How many years X amount of walks Barry Bonds? But the difference is and I know Soto's still really, really young, but he doesn't hit a ton of bombs. He doesn't do, all this craziness about his excellence and what makes it, it's all about walks.
135 walks this year, 145 the year prior.
Yeah, it's walks. It's walks. Walks are important. Do I care how he gets on base?
You don't.
Yeah, I do. I'd like to actually have the guy not have 62 RBIs. Great, he had 135 walks. He had 62 RBIs.
And he hit 242. Hey, but his on-base percentage was 401.
Great. And he's slow. So you're a slow base runner. I get a slow base. I get the guy who's not going to benefit off the stolen base run. How many stolen bases he have?
He had a total of 6 last year. He has 38 in his career.
So how am I getting him 90 feet to 90 feet?
Same. It's Albert Pujols' problem. I heard Farron and Duquette earlier talking about something. They were talking about weighted runs created plus, and blew my mind. I forgot what Yandy Diaz was in the top 10 because he has a lot of power. But anyway, they're doing a bet. They said they need to do more. They need to do more bets. Who's going to have the higher OPS plus this year? Charlie Blackmon of the Rockies or Carlos Santana of the Pirates? Because they were doing their top 10 DHs in baseball, and how Farron said the DHs are still severely undervalued in baseball, where we should be putting a pure hitter there and we're not. And I agree with them. Like we're undervaluing the DH position. But
because we're using it as like an off day.
Yeah.
Oh, you'll DH today, or you're going to DH today. No, I'd rather have a guy. I'd rather have Dave Parker.
So
I'd rather have Harold Baines. I'd rather have Edgar Martinez. I'd rather have like what we used to have, where it was Dave Winfield, George Brett, Paul Molitor, guys that can still rake, but can't play. I want a guy who's a force, not just, well, it's your day. Because what happens is, and I've said this over and over again in the postgame show, and I don't know how many people listen to me, but I've said it over and over again. There's an art to DHing. And when you're just sticking random guys into the DH, you're not maximizing the DH because they don't know how to do it. There is an art to DHing and being productive every single day. Big Papi. I'm forgetting Big Papi.
Yeah.
God dang it, I keep knocking this over. I want Big Papi. Think of what Paul Molitor, think about what Dave Winfield was. Dave Winfield was still starring as a DH for the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. That's what I want. Not random day off for, we can stick Mark Canha there today. Oh, now you can put Simeon there, like how no, I want a DH. Chris Davis was a monster DH for us. 3 straight years he hit 40 home runs. Led the league with 48 the one year. That's what I want. Do we have Chris? Yeah, we have Chris Davis. We got Chris Davis back up. Our old friend Chris Davis, number 2. That's what I want for my DH. I want a dude who strikes. Oh, he's not making it in the set. What's up with that? I want a guy. Gotta get Ricky back. I want a guy who's putting up numbers. I don't want a day off guy. I want a guy like what we did last year. Oh, we're gonna put Langoliers there, and Murph and Langoliers. Are we maximizing our DH? No. I totally agree.
You know who should be maximized as a DH there? Jordan Diaz.
If he can't play and just hit, Jordan Diaz, your DH, and figure out how to make it happen. Because what you got to figure out is what to do when you're not hitting. What do you do? How do you stay warm? How do you stay loose? How do you keep your mind active? Once again, I keep talking about the mental side of sports was so big. Does he got to go up and hit the cage? I've told this story a bazillion times. There's certain guys who take hot showers. They take their uniform off. You get buck naked, go in there, take a hot shower, put your uniform on, get ready to hit. Take 3-4 showers a game. Staying ready, staying loose, always hitting, always moving, riding the bike, walking on the treadmill. There's an art to DHing because you're literally only in the game. Since we were playing 3-hour games, a DH really only participated in a couple minutes. That was it. I
think Juan Soto will be a great DH because he can't really play the field. I mean, that's the route he goes down.
I just don't know why we're acting like he's a historical figure because you know what I hope happens? This is what I hope happens. And I'm not rooting against Juan Soto. I hope that the pitch timer, you need to stop calling it a clock. Pitch timer causes guys to go right after his ass. Let's you want to compare him to Ted Williams and Barry Bonds? What I want to see. Yeah. Well, I want to see him swing it. What's the most home runs he's had in a year?
Soto, 34.
Where's 40, 50 home runs?
He's only broken 100 RBI once and 30 home runs.
Where's 40, 50 home runs? You're this great. You want all because here's what happens. I believe analytics people had their day in the sun. Moneyball comes out, the book. Moneyball, the movie, comes out. And over time, Saber conventions, because it used to be just, you're fantasy geeks, right? And we don't want to hear from you. But, and like you even saw Eno, when you start saying, data's all this analytics. Whoa. No. Yeah. To me, I don't want to see these math equations. Baseball's moved on from that. Now, collecting data about neuroscience and biomechanics, but that's different from saying, I'm going to take your slugging and divide it by this and times it by that, because you can see how they do these analytics, the sabermetrics, are all math equations. Times this, divide by that, plus this, they're math equations. That's archaic. But those people's time has kind of come and gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you had your height and everybody's kind of going away and the game's moving in a different direction. So a guy like Mike Petriello, who we love, but he fights for every little, like he will fight that Juan Soto is one of the greatest players right now we've ever seen. And other than walks, are you going to say he's one of the greatest players you've ever seen? But Mike Petriello, because Mike Petriello, MLB.com is what?
Analytics guy?
I don't want to say it's analytics. It's more
numbers guy.
It's more sabermetrics.
Yeah, it is.
Sabermetric data and sabermetrics are two different. Data is just not people like Bill James who came up with math equations. Data is now I'm tracking TrackMan. I'm using science. Bill James was nothing science. It was just taking a bunch of stuff and turning it math equations, and he came out with this is isolated whatever. This is whatever, weighted whatever. They came up with all this stuff based off math equations. The new data is coming from science. Spin rates is a different kind of data than what Bill James is coming up with.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that we're moving past that. And besides,
but these they're now becoming the old guard of sabermetrics. They are not letting go.
Yeah, and if you take away Soto's walks and his high on base, I mean, what he did last year was not.
He was terrible. Give me his numbers from San Diego. He was terrible.
In San Diego, in 52 games, he hit 236 with 6 home runs and drove in 16. Oh, but he walked 44 times.
What did he score?
He scored 31 runs.
Okay. So he scored some runs, but I gave up all that. Because they gave up a lot of what we would call capital. So you're going to tell me, okay, he walks and scored some runs. That's all good. But am I really going to – that's what I'm going to pay for year in and year out?
You're going to pay him $400 million to walk?
236?
And to walk.
Yeah.
Well,
he walks. Well, what happens in the years I have guys that don't hit behind him? He's just a slow base runner.
Yeah. Albert Pujols.
Yeah. Who was hitting behind Albert all those years in Anaheim? Nobody.
Yeah, I was trying to think of anyone.
So you know what happened? He didn't score.
Yeah, he was always stuck on base.
Stuck on first.
Speaking of contract extensions, just came out Houston Chronicle after I sent you what Dana Brown said, the new GM of the Astros, they want to keep their own players. Christian Javier, 5-year, $64 million extension.
They sign guys at what makes them comfortable. And this thing, I still think that's an interesting one. That was another question that I have. No one really brings it up anymore that we had a GM win the World Series and was fired, and we all just went, okay. And then they now hire a new GM, and everybody's celebrating it like it's great. Who's never won anything. Great interview with Buster Olney on ESPN. Sounds like a great guy. Hope we get to interview him. Was with the Blue Jays, with the Braves. He's done nothing as an executive. Celebrating him. And James Click won the World Series, got kicked to the curb, and no one says anything. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think people like Dana Brown so much, the success he had with those teams scouting, and they
seems like a hell of a guy.
Yeah, and they signed. I mean, Atlanta signed all their young players, and they kept all of them. So now he's coming right to Houston, and he already locked up Javier.
But he's never won anything, and the guy that has won, and the guy that kind of saved the Astros, got kicked to the curb, and no one. It's like an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, you could say he won, but a lot of those guys were Jeffrey Luno's guys.
Not all.
All the core guys were drafted and developed by Luno's guys.
It takes 26 guys to win a team. It takes 26 guys to maintain what you got.
Who was the big guy that Click went out and got? Christian Vasquez? Verlander was already there.
Who drafted Pena?
Luno.
Luno drafted Powell's Pena.
25.
He got him out of one. So you're saying James Click had nothing to do with the winning World Series?
I'm not saying he did it, but we're not giving enough credit to what Luno and his guys did developing.
Well, first of all, Luno didn't do any of that anyway. He was just a surveyor of the corporation.
He also cut most of his scouting department too.
Yeah, like literally, Luno is a guy that was a consultant.
I'm just saying,
I actually believe Luno with a lot of stuff that he didn't know, because he is just I'm a top guy dealing with the owner. Jeffrey Luno was not grinding scouting reports.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah, fair. I'm just saying.
So giving him credit, all right.
But I'm just saying.
But seriously, you're saying Click had not. It could have been you or me.
I'm not saying I'm not going to go that far, but I'm just saying majority of the guys that won the World Series for the team were all guys that were already there. Brantley was signed by Luno.
Brantley didn't play.
Yeah. Well, saying
So you're going to go Bregman.
You're
going to go Altuve.
Pena.
I guess you got to get Pena the draft.
Gurriel.
Tucker.
Gurriel. Verlander. All the international guys.
All right. Okay, you're right.
So we'll see. Well, now we'll see what happens going forward.
So I'll just say this.
Chas McCormick.
I'll just say this. If they don't win the World Series, can I say, well, Dana Brown, you had all Lunau's guys.
Yeah, that's fair. Because they didn't win the first.
So I want this to be fair. You said James Click because organization and I'm backtracking now trying to win my argument. I'm going to admit that. Someone still has to run the organization, correct?
Correct,
Keep
yes.
the organization together. Did James Click do that?
Yes.
And did the team win the World Series under James Click?
Yes. They also lost one, too, so he's been to 2.
So he's been to 2. Keeping Dusty Baker around, does he get credit for that? Lunau didn't hire Baker.
That's true. He didn't. Well, who got hired first? No. Who got hired first?
Dusty, I believe, got hired
Okay,
first.
so.
But whatever, he kept Dusty around.
Yeah.
Okay. So if to a good host always tries to win his argument, if you want to go all Lunau, whatever, if Dana Brown does not go to the World Series next year, he's a failure. James Click went to 2 World Series and won 1, and you fired him. Now it's this guy's ship with all of You said it's all Lunau's guys, so he's inheriting all the guys Click inherited. So now we're going to see how smart you are. If you said he had nothing to do with it, and he had all of Lunau's guys, and Dana Brown now has all of Lunau's guys, and he doesn't win, now what?
It's interesting because look at a good example for a coach is look at what people always say. Well, Gruden won a Super Bowl with Dungy's guys.
Barry Switzer won with
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson's guys.
We're always going to have these arguments. I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to discredit what Click did, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to think of
you did.
Right?
You did. No, you did.
I did.
But now you're going to have to do the same thing to Dana Brown if he doesn't win.
Yeah.
Because Click won.
The Astros are still at the peak of their powers,
And
too.
what happens if Dana Brown doesn't get to the ALCS?
Oh, boy.
Oh, you're going to have to really backtrack on that one. Wow. We're going to, because you know all the Houston guys we have on the air. Hey, Cody said Click didn't do anything, and now Dana Brown didn't get to where Click was. Dana Brown's got to be a complete failure and should be fired.
I never said he should be fired. But...
Wow.
But
I'm trying to think of everybody with the Astros.
Yeah, let's look at their
all their young guys. Giving Lunau credit is so crap. He didn't know anything about these international guys.
2022 team. Maldonado was already there. Gurriel was there. Altuve, Pena, Bregman, Brantley, McCormick, Tucker, Alvarez. Those are all guys that were there before Click got there.
I have to admit, that's true.
And then their pitchers, let's see, starting pitchers. Framber Valdez, Urquidy, Garcia.
But that's a technicality. Those guys were all signed for under $100,000 in Latin America.
Okay.
He didn't know Lunau didn't know who any of those guys were. You're going to tell me Jeffrey Lunau knew exactly who those guys were when they were offering him, like, here's $40,000 to sign.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't know. We'll never know.
He did not. So technically, guys blossomed as James Click was there.
Ryan Presley's the guy that Luno traded for because that was actually I think that was actually a Click move. But remember, he got shipped off anyway.
Ryan Stanek.
Yep, that was a good free agent signing by him, and Hector Neris was a free agent signing. The rest of the guys are all
Presley.
Presley was a Luno guy.
He was Luno?
Yeah, because Luno loved his curveball and his spin rate.
What year was that?
Presley would have went to the Astros in like 18 or
How
19.
many bullpen guys were Click? There has to be more bullpen guys.
Houston, he went there in 18, so yeah, that was Luno.
What year was Luno fired? 19?
20.
20 was COVID.
That's when he got fired.
They got fired before COVID?
Yeah. Because remember the Astros went on.
I don't remember anyone wearing masks at their press conferences. At what point were they fired? It had to be. Sure wasn't 2019?
January 13, 2020, Jeffrey Luno and Adrian Hinch were fired by Jim Crane.
Oh, yeah, because COVID would have been right after.
Yeah, right after, yeah.
Oh, you know what? Even make it worse. They were a super spreader. Their event was a super spreader.
The one in Florida?
Nobody was wearing masks. And remember all the reporters went into the clubhouse? It was a super spreader event. Give me the bullpen. He had to have brought bullpen guys.
Let me see. Let me see when Hunter Brown was signed or drafted. Nope, that was Sulina. It was 2019. This is the guy that's supposed to be the guy that replaces Verlander.
Give me the bullpen.
Will Smith would have been a click guy, I'm pretty sure. Because, yeah, he traded for him at the deadline this past year. And then he wasn't even on their postseason roster most of the time.
All right, give me. Who else? Who else pitched in the World Series? Give me everybody that pitched in the World Series. You're telling me Click didn't have anything to do with any of them. That's not – how long was Click there? 3 years?
He would have came in
20, 21, 22?
Yeah.
3 years. You're going to tell me nobody in the bullpen?
I'm just looking at the guy. When did they get Montero?
Who played a huge role.
He traded for Montero when remember they got him in Graveman. All right, so remember they gave him a big extension this offseason too.
They don't win it without Montero.
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly guys that they got in trades. Like he got he traded for Trey Mancini. How'd that work out?
That's a friend of the program, a man who survived colon cancer.
Now Chicago Cub.
I just know this. I will never forget this show. Right before the Super Bowl, if the Astros don't go to the ALCS, I'm going to expect an apology to James Click right here on our air. Apologies to former Astros GM who you threw under the bus, nothing to do with anything. And the guy that takes over, who everybody loves now, and he's never won a game as the head guy, if he doesn't get to the ALCS, wow, you're going to have to say. So you're going to have to say something. That's going to be. I mean,
what if he takes?
He needs to win the World Series. But if he doesn't win the World Series, that's a problem. If he doesn't get to the World Series, even bigger of a problem.
If he takes on the World Series, that's the same thing Click did his first year.
But if he doesn't,
actually, technically, Click in his first year didn't go. They didn't get to the World Series.
If he doesn't get to the World Series, you got a problem.
Yeah. So, but I can't. I'm not supposed to openly root for the Astros to reach the World Series.
I mean, technically, you should be fired right now on the spot for all your Astro crap. What do you got to have at your Super Bowl party to make it a Super Bowl party? I heard chicken wings.
Buffalo
pulled
chicken,
pork.
Buffalo chicken dip's pretty good.
Chicken dip.
But when it comes to, I don't really go. We don't go to a lot of Super Bowl parties.
What the hell is buffalo chicken dip? Just buffalo sauce dip for chicken?
No, my wife makes it. You have to ask her what's in it.
Well, obviously it's a buffalo sauce with chicken.
We're going to be in Vegas for the Super Bowl, so I don't know.
But still, what do you got to have? It's got to some people ribs.
With chicken wings and pizza and all, like the normal stuff. Okay. And I know you're probably gonna have something with Traeger and smoked meats and
ribs and wings are.
Yeah.
If you don't have ribs or wings, I think you got to have guacamole.
It's a hard pass for me, but you're right.
You don't like guacamole?
No. I think avocado is the worst thing in the world.
Do you know how healthy it is for you?
I just don't like it. There's no taste to it.
Have you had good guacamole before?
I don't know what you define as good.
There's different types of guac. Restaurant guacamole is going to have a lot of mayonnaise in it because guacamoles are expensive.
Never had
avocados are expensive, so a lot of places will put a lot of mayonnaise in it.
Never had it at a restaurant.
You've never had it at a restaurant?
No, I've always had it at someone's house because I don't like. Why would I waste my money ordering it at a restaurant?
You are a weird bird.
It's okay.
You don't eat seafood. You don't like guacamole. There's a lot of what you don't like. And you're not even a big ribs guy. You're not even really a big meat guy.
I'm not saying I'm not a big meat guy.
No, you're not a big meat guy. I know that for a fact.
I just haven't had a lot of experience with it being made the right way.
What are you big on in food?
Pizza, salad, green beans.
He's got a palate of like a child. I like chicken tenders and I like pizza.
I'm not a big chicken tender guy. I don't need to eat those all the time like some people do when they go out and they're like, "Oh, I need this and mac and cheese."
Hey, at the ballpark, you eat a lot of chicken tenders.
Well, there's not a lot of options sometimes.
You eat a lot of chicken.
It's either that
you're
or
like a 12. You have a palate of like a 12-year-old boy. It's okay.
It's better than
pizza and chicken wings.
It's better than
and chicken tenders.
It's better than a hot dog.
At the press box.
Yes. All right. Before we go, Super Bowl. Who you got?
Who do I want or who do I got?
Who do you got?
I believe we'll have a vested rooting interest in the Philadelphia Eagles.
Turn that crap off. The Chiefs are going to roll the bums from Philadelphia. I don't want Philadelphia to win crap. Sorry, Hembo.
Wow. Whoa.
You can reach every championship you want.
Whoa.
How'd that work out for the Phillies?
Whoa.
And I'm a Sixers guy. They can't even get to the finals.
Wow. Shots fired. Are we going to have a little what we like to call a A's Cast Live friendly wager on this game?
Well, I still have to pay. I still have to take you to dinner.
You still owe me a steak dinner. That's correct. Do you want to have a friendly wager on this?
Well, you're sure. We'll discuss off the air what it will be. Give me the two-time reigning, undisputed NFL MVP Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid gets his revenge.
He's not. Eagles are going to win, but we're going to have. I don't care who wins. Well, I hate the Chiefs.
See, I'm the other way.
I hate the Chiefs, but to me, this is all about. This has nothing to do with like or dislike. I'm just going Eagles. Eagles are a better team. Eagles have a better roster. Eagles have a better defense.
I was going to say, let me put it in layman's terms for everyone. 2 through 52 is the Eagles, but that one,
Patrick Mahomes is a bad man. He's all,
and he has one leg. What he's doing out there is heroic with one ankle.
2 weeks. Stop it. Patrick Mahomes will have a bust in Canton, Ohio.
Oh yeah, so Andy Reid.
Yeah, no question. No question.
I can't root for Nick Sirianni.
But you know what? Is it going to be a big deal when you've lost 2 out of 3 Super Bowls?
Oh wow.
Yeah, take that, Chiefs. Take that in your barbecue.
No, I was going to say, I can't root for Nick Sirianni. Why? Because he coached at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, my college's biggest rival. Yes, Nick Sirianni was an assistant coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania before he went on to bigger and better things.
All right, wait. Indiana University, Pennsylvania, and you went to California?
Yeah, these are cities in Pennsylvania.
Indiana and California are a city in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
There's a California in Pennsylvania?
There's a big time actor from the back in the 30s and 40s. From you might have heard of him, Jimmy Stewart. It's a Wonderful Life.
Who's from California?
No,
Pennsylvania?
he's from Indiana. The Coal Bowl, Indiana versus Cal. Now my school's called Penn West.
Wait, why is there a university in Pennsylvania called Indiana?
Because it's in the town of Indiana.
There's a town of Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
And there's a town called California, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Shut up. Show me that. Why would you name a city in Pennsylvania after California?
Indiana County, then there's Indiana, Pennsylvania. 14,000 people live there.
Where's the California? I want to see the California. California, Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's a ghost town when we weren't in school. Not California. Population of the town is 5,479. But there's a school there.
You know, the more I learn about Pennsylvania, about you, it all starts to make sense.
There's a Pittsburgh.
It doesn't make any sense.
There's a Pittsburgh here without an H. Spell it right.
There's a what?
There's a Pittsburgh here that doesn't have an H at the end. Spell Pittsburgh correctly.
Oh, my God.
Also, my school, California University of Pennsylvania, founded 20 years before Berkeley.
Was the city of California, Pennsylvania, around before we actually knew California as a state?
Let's actually look and see when it was.
Is that a legitimate history question right
Founded
there?
1849.
What year did we become a state? Doing history here, folks. You learn.
Give me a Wikipedia page on California.
Got to beat 1849.
1850.
1 year. We stole California, Pennsylvania. We stole the name.
Just like Pittsburgh was stolen too and spelled wrong.
Wow. We're frauds. We're absolute frauds. It's official right here on A's Cast. We're not back Monday.
I'll be in Vegas.
You know what? We've always said.
Should be a holiday?
That the day after the Super Bowl, because, I mean, think of how many times you got hammered, drunk, and ate all day long and felt like crap the day after the Super Bowl. I mean, you felt awful because you start drinking early, you drink all the way through the game, and then you drink well after the game.
I can't wait. I'm going to be in Vegas, so yeah. Since I don't gamble or anything.
You're not going to gamble on the game at all?
No, I don't.
Why?
Because that's
you can't put $20 down on the game?
Never gambled in my life.
So why would we ever listen to you when you talk about betting or you're going to predict something?
That's why I never talk about betting.
Soft.
My wife will gamble, though.
Where are you going to watch the game?
So we're trying to figure. We're staying at the Park MGM. So
because the sports books will be slammed.
Yeah, everywhere. I don't know. My
it's
wife.
The most bet day in sports.
My wife is trying to figure it out because her whole reason of wanting to go to Vegas, wait for it, was to go watch the Golden Knights play a hockey game because she found a good deal on it against the Ducks on. She goes, oh yeah, so the game's on February 12th. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you realize? I'm looking, without even looking at the calendar. I said, you realize that's Super Bowl Sunday, right? So we're going to watch the game at noon. Game's over. We're going to watch the Super Bowl because Super Bowl starts at 3:30.
You're going to go to a hockey game before the Super Bowl?
Yep, that's what my wife and her friends wanted to do.
Sometimes it's best that you just don't say anything. Sometimes it's just best that you just leave it alone. And I'm gonna edit myself. My inside governor says, do not say anything. You have a great time at the hockey game. So we're not back till Wednesday because you're going to go liquored up, as Peyton Manning once said, our liquored up kicker.
Yeah, he was a little more colorful than that, but yeah.
So we'll be back on Wednesday.
Yes.
And then
Wednesday, Friday, then the following Monday is a, wait for it, holiday. And then we go to spring training.
Okay. All righty. All righty.
I got it for you, by the way.
Got liquored up and ran his mouth off.
Wait, here we go.
Our idiot kicker who got liquored up and ran his mouth off.
Our idiot kicker got all liquored up. God, Peyton Manning's the best. All righty. That will do it. We want to thank Eno Sarris, and Scott Miller for joining us here on A's Cast Live. Everybody enjoy the Super Bowl. It's one of the greatest days of the year, Super Bowl Sunday. Recover on Monday. We'll be back on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have fun watching the Super Bowl. Thank you for listening to A's Cast Live.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine